Chicago Live, including it's a really great in-studio guest, actually. They're going to be joining me here at the desk. We're going to be talking with Brett Bugansky about this so-called millionaire's tax and the amount of money, the pretty astonishing amount of money that they're saying could bring in to our area and the people who are behind it. And there are some names who are familiar to the people of Chicago. We're also going to be talking with our friend Lauren about her new podcast launch today. She's going to be focusing on people with Chicago ties in some form or fashion. It doesn't matter who they are, whether they're a famous chef or whether they're an actor or whether they're a politician or whether they're just your friend down the road who's got a really cool story. She's looking to bring people in that just have great Chicago connections and great Chicago stories. And the first episode of her podcast dropped today, and we're going to be talking with her a little bit about that. We're also going to be taking a presser live focusing on what we were being told is sort of an uptick in ICE presence in the back of the yards neighborhood. I believe Casey Cronus is being sent out there to cover that story. So we're going to be taking that live a little bit later in the hour here on Chicago Live. But first off, this is a really fascinating story that a lot of people are talking about this afternoon. News anchor Katie Couric is revealing that she had a diagnosis of something called transient global amnesia. The symptoms of this are really, honestly, quite terrifying. It's saying that suddenly it robs someone of nearly all memories, even while they maintain self-awareness. It's a fascinating topic. We're going to bring in Dr. Khan, a neurologist with Northwestern Medicine. Doctor, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate you.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you. Transient global amnesia, I'm going to be honest with you, up until this story broke a little bit earlier, I wasn't particularly familiar with this particular branch of amnesia. Can you explain really what this is and how it differs maybe from the traditional understanding of what amnesia is?
Yeah, so this one's really specific in that people will experience acute onset or sudden onset of inability to form new memories or current memories, and it's really short lasting. So it lasts for about 24 hours or less, and typically doesn't recur again. And it's really the memories that are ongoing at the time, as opposed to forgetting things from the past.
So, I mean, you mentioned that it happens briefly. What I'm reading is that she remembers a scary day is the phrase that I'm reading. She remembers a day. So we're talking about a thing that happens. It happens briefly, it happens once, and then it never actually happens again?
Most of the time, it usually does not happen again. But the thing that's really off-putting about it is that, so, typically what happens is people will, this phenomenon occurs, and then people will not remember anything that's going on at the moment. They remember who they are, they know their loved ones, they know how to do things and maneuver about the space, but they won't necessarily recall the events of that period of time. So typically, like if somebody goes to the emergency room or gets evaluated, talks to somebody else about it, they won't have recalled what happened during that short period of time, as opposed to somebody else who was around them at the time and remembers, oh, you went to the fridge to get that cake out of the fridge, and then you went back again and tried to get that piece of cake out of the fridge. And that was really odd. So it's the people that are around you that really notice it, as opposed to the person themselves. And that's really frightening to think that, wow, this whole period of time just happened, 1 hour, 24 hours, and I don't remember any of it. That's kind of scary.
It is scary. And I'm reading up on this particular Katie Couric instance of it. And she said that she wasn't sure of the month. She thought the year was 2024. She believed Joe Biden was president. I mean, is it those kind of specific things where like the immediacy of your current moment, it sounds like, are the first things to go?
Yeah, exactly. So it is really the inability to consolidate memories in real time. And there's a small portion of people that will have that retrograde amnesia, so forgetting things about the past very transiently or temporarily. But mostly it's, forgetting things of like where we are right now, what's happening right now, and the things that you may have to do or the things that you are doing.
I mean, because this is so sort of short lasting and because it happens and then doesn't happen again, is it entirely possible that this happens to people and maybe they don't even realize that it's happening? Is it possible that someone out there just thinks that they're having an off day and then goes on with their life and maybe doesn't even realize that they experienced this particular kind of phenomenon?
Yeah, absolutely. Usually it's the family members or friends that really point out, oh, you are asking the same question over and over again, or you were repeating the same behaviors over and over again. And people are usually unaware of that. Most commonly, it occurs in people that are either middle-aged or older. So, they're at more risk of it happening. People who have a history of like sometimes migraine or vascular history. So, people who have a history of like high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, could be at risk for it, or people who have a history of like seizures and epilepsy. All of these things can contribute, but there's not one consensus on the actual cause or etiology of the syndrome.
So it's hard to really, I'd imagine, even say, whether it be, well, if you diet better, or if you work out more, or if you drink more water, that there's not a particular thing that you guys can point to say, well, if you do these things, then you're less likely to experience this.
Right, exactly. So ultimately, there isn't a clear-cut hypothesis as to why this occurs in people. We do think that, transient stress or temporary stress can be associated with these events. So, a change in body temperature or emotional or physical stress sometimes predisposes people to these events. And like I said, sometimes people, we also think that whether you have a history of migraines, strokes, or seizures, those could also be some causes that are related to this. But it doesn't point, we don't have a complete understanding of exactly one cause of why this occurs in people. So no, there isn't a clear-cut answer as to what you can do to prevent it from happening necessarily.
And on the flip side of that, then, does it make it difficult to treat, or what really is the treatment for something like this?
Yeah, typically, so when somebody comes in with these concerns, we do, a thorough history and physical exam, and want to make sure that there isn't anything else that's going on that could have been causing these symptoms. So we look at, people's labs, making sure that there isn't any sort of electrolyte abnormalities or derangements. Obviously, the physical exam will help us delineate if there's any focal abnormalities in a person's presentation that may prompt further imaging, like an MRI or an EEG. And then after we do that, if we find that their, results are pretty benign or everything looks relatively normal, treatment is really reassurance. And just telling people that, it'll be okay. Most likely it's not going to happen again. On a rare occasion, it may happen again in certain people, but more often than not, the majority of people will carry on normal lives. It's not associated with dementia or an increased risk of stroke or cardiovascular disease or anything like that.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask about. You mentioned sort of reassuring people, and sort of what I'm reading is, I'd imagine one of the biggest sources of reassurance is that it doesn't have a link to Alzheimer's, that there is no link to dementia, that it's not indicative of like sort of other cognitive decline. So I'd imagine that just being able to tell people this isn't the first step of something awful that's on the way, it feels very isolated.
Very, very, very true. So yeah, it is typically very isolated. Like I said, most commonly happens in people that are older than 50. So middle age to older individuals. And as sometimes we do this workup and look at people's labs and things like that, we do come across maybe a, underlying high blood pressure diagnosis or an underlying high cholesterol diagnosis. So those things separately should be managed and treated. But if all is normal, and ultimately we determine that transient global amnesia is, what the phenomenon that happened and their diagnosis, then strictly reassurance and carrying on with your normal life as usual.
The stat that I'm reading here, if it is accurate, that this condition only affects between 3 to 10 people per every 100,000 people per year, which is obviously a very, very, very small percentage or fraction of a percentage. Have you ever, in your work as a doctor, have you ever actually come across this?
Yes, probably once every couple of years. So not even every year, but maybe once every 2 years or so, I will see a patient who has transient global amnesia. Definitely.
And I'd imagine as they're walking through the door that they probably don't realize that that's what it is that they're dealing with. So when they walk through and tell you, well, I mean, what is it that they walk through the door and tell you that they're experiencing?
So most of the time I'll have, if I recall one case in particular, this patient's spouse was telling me that, that exact situation where, they were planning a party or an event that day, and his wife kept going to the fridge and pulling out the cake. And then 10 minutes later, she'd come back and she said, "Hey, did I get the cake out of the fridge?" And he said, "Yeah, you did that." So they ask repetitive questions. And so the people around them tend to be a little bit, confused as to why they ask the same question. And this is unusual for that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a person who has an underlying history of dementia or underlying history of memory loss or anything like that. So it's unusual that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this person will be asking, what just happened, or did I just do that? Did I take my medications? Did I pull out the cake from the fridge? Did I, take my kid to the swimming lesson? Whatever it was. And so then the surrounding people typically are the ones, like surrounding my family and friends, are typically the ones that will ring the alarm bells and say, "Hey, you're acting a little bit off." And then after a period of time, again, like anywhere between 1 to 24 hours, the person completely returns to normal. And they have no recollection of what happened during that period of time. And so they'll be like, "I didn't remember going to the fridge. I didn't remember, doing that activity yesterday." And I think that's, obviously really alarming for the patient. But otherwise, they return to normal functioning. And that's the key, is that they are, a little bit confused for a very short period of time. It completely goes away and doesn't go back and doesn't recur, and it's not something that's persisting beyond the day. That's the key kind of diagnostic factor.
And I think that's such an interesting sort of division that you're putting on sort of people's behaviors. If you have a significant other, if you're watching at home and you have a significant other who every day can't remember where they left their keys, or every day asks you where they, where in the kitchen you keep the cleaning materials, or whatever the case may be, that's not necessarily what you're talking about. You're talking about someone who never has that particular sort of insistence of asking the same question over and over again, and then out of the blue they randomly start doing that.
Exactly, Jake. That's exactly right. So it's really when this is uncharacteristic behavior for a person, and then it goes back to normal. They go back to their usual behavior after a day or less.
And just to kind of emphasize the difference between this, can you sort of explain when it comes to maybe the traditional understanding of what amnesia is? Can you sort of talk about that in comparison to what it is we're talking about with this segment?
Yeah, so amnesia in general is just a term that we use to describe forgetfulness. And when we say, in this particular thing, we say anterograde amnesia is what is affected in transient global amnesia. And so that's the ability to form new memories. Retrograde amnesia is the ability, or the inability to, or retrograde amnesia is previous memories, so forgetting the past. And so that's, what's different. Amnesia is just a term that we use to say forgetfulness. And anterograde is now and future, and retrograde is previous or past.
I before we let you go, I am curious, as a neurologist, what is your most common case that you see on, the most frequent basis?
I think all of us see very different things, but me personally, I see a lot of dementia, a lot of stroke, a lot of migraines. Those are probably my top 3 diagnoses.
And it feels like it's safe to say, even in regards to sort of talking about this transient global amnesia, that, because there are so many factors about that where we're not sure exactly where it stems from, that even you being, you're a doctor, you're a neurologist, you're at the top of your field, it just feels like still, even today in 2026, there's still so much about the human brain that we still haven't figured out yet. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. And that's what makes this feel so fun and interesting, is that the brain is a mystery. It's a lot of fun. It's a mystery, but we have a lot of work to do to kind of figure out more treatments, more therapies, and help our patients to the best of our abilities.
Well, a lot of work to do, but you've also done a lot of work as well, so don't discount that. Dr. Khan, I've been looking forward to this conversation as soon as I found out that you were going to be on the show. So seriously, thank you. I know you have a busy day. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us, and hopefully we'll chat again soon.
Take care. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, of course. All right, guys, Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Just about 1:18 on Chicago Live. The topic of ShotSpotter has been one that has been passionately debated on both sides here in the city of Chicago for a while now, with some pushing for it to return and others saying it needs to stay gone. There was, at about noon today, there was a press conference calling on City Council to reject Alderman Quinn's push for ShotSpotter to be brought back to the city of Chicago. We're going to talk with Nat Palmer, who's a member of the Stop ShotSpotter Coalition. Nat, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Nat, first of all, just explain your side for someone who isn't sure one way or the other whether or not this is a negative tool, a harmful tool, or a helpful tool. Tell us what the Stop ShotSpotter Coalition believes.
Yeah, so for us, it's not that we believe, it's that we follow a lot of the data that's already been put out, and we also know that surveillance doesn't keep our people safe. We know that since ShotSpotter has been decommissioned in the city of Chicago, we have seen record decreases in homicides and crime across the board in the city. We also know that this for-profit company has no interest in keeping our city safe. They simply have an interest to make profits for their investors, which can be demonstrated on any one of their earnings calls, specifically in the way that they talk about our communities. We also know that a lot of these alders don't necessarily want to fund things like non-police crisis. They don't want to fund public schools. They don't want to fund root cause solutions that have been proven to keep our community safe. Instead, all they do is continue to put money into policing. And we know that these tools simply allow for police to come into our communities, for tragic things to happen, like the police shooting at an 8-year-old for shooting off fireworks. We know that this is how Adam Toledo was murdered. And we also know, again, that and I cannot reiterate this enough, that violent crime has gone down to record numbers since the decommissioning of this technology. So we know it has nothing to do with public safety.
What is the biggest argument against your case that the coalition is constantly pushing back against?
Yeah, so this is actually an interesting question. I've been organizing with the coalition for a few years now. Due to our work as well as national work of removing shot spotters from cities across the nation, right? Major cities too, not just Chicago. We have watched the company as well as the politicians who are in favor of it shift their narrative again and again to avoid the questions that we put on the table. Right now, the most popular narrative is that if one person is bleeding out, it can allow for police to come if no one calls the police, right? What they don't address, again, is that we have seen record decreases in gun violence and homicides. We also are not addressing the fact that most of these alerts lead to dead-end cases. The MacArthur Justice Center put out a report that there were, on average, 61 dead-end deployments due to ShotSpotter a day. So this is sending police out into specifically Black and brown communities and allowing them to have free range to stop and frisk whoever is in a specific area. ShotSpotter will often market that they can pinpoint something. They give an estimate, which often will come with a little dot. I'm on an interview right now, I know, I'm sorry. It will often come with a little dot, but it does not actually give an accurate thing. It gives an estimate to where it is. So with the argument that this can allegedly save someone, that is 1 out of 1,000 ShotSpotter alerts that lead to nothing. If a pilot was only successful with a flight 1 out of 100 times, that pilot wouldn't be a pilot anymore. If a surgeon was only successful with their surgery 1 out of 100 times, they wouldn't be a surgeon anymore. It's a complete waste of taxpayer money when we know what actually works. And those are demands that are rooted in community, that are education, that is healthcare, that is mental health care, not police surveillance.
Let me ask you this. Mayor Brandon Johnson it's a big advocate, a big reason why ShotSpotter was removed from the city. As of right now, he has not announced whether or not he is going to be running for re-election. A lot of people have started throwing their hats in the ring for the next mayoral election in the city of Chicago. Has the coalition had to start looking at the potential future mayors, maybe, of the city of Chicago and see what their track record, what their history is with ShotSpotter, and what battles you may or may not have to be facing moving ahead in the coming months?
Yeah, so first I want to address, Mayor Johnson made that his platform because of our work, right? We not only made this an issue that was on the last mayoral election, we made it essential for a progressive candidate to be against ShotSpotter because we showed that real community safety comes from our demands and comes from our community. Second, to address that second part of your question, of course, we're organizers, right? And just as a Chicagoan, as a West Side resident who lives in Austin, as a Black person, as a queer person, I'm always looking ahead. So of course we're looking ahead. We will move accordingly. Right now we are dealing with the terrain that we're in. Since we don't know who's going to be elected, we're still going to move and we're still going to hold firm on our demands, which is to redirect this money to what it can be used for, which is anything within the emergency call system. So that can be non-police crisis care through treatment, not trauma. That can be training peacekeepers and crisis intervention. That can be training OEMC folks. So we will stand firm on our demands, regardless of who may or may not be in whatever political position. But I do really want to highlight that the mayor was able to champion this because of the work that we did and because of the demands of the community.
Well, you mentioned the work that all of you do. We mentioned at the beginning of the segment that there was a press conference held, about an hour and a half ago. Can you tell us a little bit about how that went?
Yeah, so the press conference was specifically to talk about, as you mentioned, the proposed ballot referendum that Marty Quinn, who has announced his retirement, has put on City Council's agenda today, the Rules Committee. We are completely against this ballot measure, not because we're anti-democracy, but because the way of the wording of this question is anti-democratic. It does not allow the people to know that that gunshot detection generally, let alone the specific gunshot detection ShotSpotter, is not something that just brings first responders to the scene. I personally know people who have lost people because police were the first responders to someone bleeding out, and all they did was put up yellow tape, which ended up blocking life-saving aid, right? The question on the ballot asks voters if they are in favor of Chicago restarting gunshot detection that sends first responders, which, as I mentioned, is misleading. It doesn't send first responders. It sends the police. Only the police. It does not send the ambulance. The police have to call them if they want to. Police, one, are not necessarily trained to initiate life-saving aid. They have a limited toolbox of what they're able to do in that situation. And we also know that even if we want to say that this is for crime solving, the last state's attorney put out a report showing that ShotSpotter is only used as evidence in prosecution in 0.1% of cases. Other times it gets thrown out because it is not proven to work, because the science doesn't back it up. So we held this press conference to bring to light that this ballot referendum question is anti-democratic because it puts the power in the hands of these pro-gunshot detection, pro-police city councilors, instead of giving the full picture of what the gunshot detection does. Whereas me, someone who has canvassed, who has talked to my community members, who has talked to my neighbors, other people who have canvassed, who has asked directly what people want $10 million used for, it has never been gunshot detection. It has always been community-based.
Nat, let me ask you, you called out Marty Quinn. Who are some of the lawmakers that you're actually working with, or any of the aldermen agreeing with you?
So in this iteration, we haven't been in contact with alder people because we recently sunsetted our campaign just due to capacity and the fact that ShotSpotter was gone. Historically, we've had Rosanna Rodriguez, Byron Ciccio Lopez, Jesse Fuentes. Jeanette Taylor has largely been in support of alternatives. Jason Irving. These are folks who have historically voted on our side and in favor of these alternative ways to keep us safe that, again, are backed by real evidence of working and rooted in community demands.
Has there been much of a back and forth, if at all, a conversation with Alderman Marty Quinn?
This recently just happened. It was just now allowed to, just now publicized. So no, there hasn't been any conversation with Marty Quinn. Historically, a lot of the alders who are in favor of ShotSpotter generally don't respond to our conversations. That does not mean we are not willing to have conversations, and that doesn't mean they aren't willing to have conversations. It generally has turned into, well, I still believe this, and I'm going to listen to the constituents who already believe me, as opposed to constituents who want to see a different and safer Chicago.
Is it fair to say that if a knock came at your door and it was Marty Quinn, pre-retirement, you'd be open?
I'll talk to whoever, whenever, however.
Fair enough.
I was on one of the first CCPSA, the newest police accountability hearings against ShotSpotter. I was the lone dissenting voice, and I had no issue holding my own. And not only just holding my own, but I love to be in conversation with my people, and I love to be in conversation with people because this is how we actually make change in our communities and create real community. So I will have a conversation with anyone.
Fair enough. Nat Palmer, member of the Stop ShotSpotter Coalition. Nat, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We really do appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Enjoy your day, love.
You too. All right, guys, Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back, 131 on Chicago Live. I'm Jake Hamilton, but more importantly, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, my friend, Brett Bugansky. Brett, my man, good to see you. Good to see you.
Jake Hamilton.
Well, it's all downhill from there. Listen, this is such a fascinating story. I know we were sort of talking about it and listening on the loop a little bit earlier, but the two words, when you put them together, I think it perks people's ears: millionaire tax.
Yes.
And there are some names attached to this that are going to be pretty familiar if you've lived in Chicago for 5 minutes.
And he's a friend of the show. We've had former Governor Pat Quinn on, who I've covered from my time in Central Illinois, and then now we're back at City Hall.
It's a story that keeps on giving.
It's just, Governor Pat Quinn has been around for years. He's a very interesting guy. He's just a really good person to talk to, just about how a lot of things work. And if you really want to get in the weed of politics, Pat Quinn is your guy. Mm-hmm. So today he was at City Council with State Representative LaShawn Ford, as they are pushing for a millionaire's tax. And because they didn't have the votes at the state level this year, because we keep hearing that in order to properly fund government, there's always a shortfall. Why not tax millionaires and billionaires? Because a lot of them are getting tax relief, but average middle income, low income people are not getting anything, and they are funding the majority of government, whether it's at the local level or the state level, even the county level here. So they are proposing a millionaire amendment. So what they want to do, because they don't have the votes right now at the state level, they said in order to get it done, in order to draw up support for it, start it as a local referendum. So Pat Quinn, because he kind of goes back, he's been around for a while, he talked about how 44 years ago he proposed a citizen utility board, and it passed with about 80% of the vote here in Chicago. About 6 months later, it became a statewide thing, and now you have a citizen utility board, as they were fighting for lower rates against Commonwealth Edison, which many of us go and pay into that utility here.
Sure.
So they want to use that same idea to drum up support to say, look, the city of Chicago wants it. I don't know if other municipalities would do this, but they're saying, look, we want to be able to fund this. I think you need to go after people who are very well off. And we've heard from Mayor Johnson earlier this week saying that, look, if you have this much money, you need to put more skin in the game.
And the number that I'm seeing in regards to this tax, not just millions, they're talking about billions it could be bringing into our area.
The estimate they gave today was $4.5 billion. So what they would do is take half of that money and fund education, because that's sort of been this crux for many of the school districts across the state, including here in Chicago. In fact, you have the Chicago Teachers Union, one of the strongest unions in the state of Illinois, calling for lawmakers to go back to Springfield this summer for a special session to properly fund public schools. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think it's doubtful right now, because in order for them to go back to Springfield, they have to have an agenda, but they also have to have enough support in order to draw that up, because it's not just a simple majority, it is a 3/5 majority when you go to a special session like that. And there's also talk about Chicago Bears, so they said, look, if you're going to be going to the Chicago Bears, which right now that is doubtful if they were going to go to a special session on that, but if they were to do that, they would have to have the agenda, but they'd also have to make sure that there's enough support to do this.
Now, let me ask you this. I mean, on paper, it sounds like, okay, well, tax a little more the people that make a little more. You hear $4.5 billion into our area. These are all things that sound like no-brainers. So then what are the pushbacks on this?
Well, the big pushbacks, and we've heard this from several alders even this week. We spoke with Alderman Brian Hopkins, said, look, I know this sounds good that you could go and tax millionaires and billionaires, but if you do that, even there's been talk, and this is the different issues here, when there was talk about a corporate head tax here in the city of Chicago, there are several alders that say, look, you're not going to have my vote. Number two, you are potentially driving businesses away, and you're potentially driving people out of the state of Illinois if you were going to implement some kind of surcharge like this, whether it be on businesses or on residents of the state who are making millions and billions of dollars. So there's always going to be that pushback. There's always going to be that argument here. So it's going to be the potential of, all right, if we go to the vote of the people, because sometimes we heard from former Governor Pat Quinn, they say there are some on city council, and it seems like he's been watching and referencing some of our stories that some of our stories that we've done. He said, I think there's just a few alders who want to get in the way of the voice of the people. So he was saying, what if we were to put this on the November ballot? But if we don't put it on the November ballot, what if we were to put it on next year's February ballot, which is a very important one for the city of Chicago? This is where we're going to decide who is going to be the next mayor,
Sure.
who's going to be your next alder, who's going to be your county treasurer. So it's there's a lot on the line right here, and you could potentially have millions of people come out, voice their concern and say, yes, I want this, no, I don't want this, and depending on how people vote, could that draw off enough support in order to get this in Springfield? Because in order for something like this to happen, there needs to be a constitutional amendment with this local voter referendum, and potentially it could go to the state level because there's already two key sponsors. Number one is State Representative LaShawn Ford. The second person, Speaker of the House, Emanuel Chris Welch.
Let me ask you this, in regards to maybe politician pushing back against this, is there an unspoken fear of whenever you are potentially throwing a tax on the people who make a lot of money, that those are also people that when the time comes and you're running for re-election and you need a donor for your campaign, those are also the people whose doors you might be knocking on? So is there ever a fear of not ticking off and taxing the people whose doors you might be needing to knock on and whenever it comes time for re-election?
There's always been this unspoken thing of if you, and it not necessarily, all right, you accept a donation from this person, but there's sort of this implied consent
Sure.
of, I give you money, but if you call
Yeah,
on me,
I'm calling you. Yeah.
if I have a piece of legislation, perhaps you're going to be, open up your door and be listening here. Now, does that say that if you donate money to someone's campaign and you just say, no, I'm not going to do that, it doesn't mean that anything bad is going to happen
Sure.
to you. But at the same time, if you are accepting money from those people, but then you're also passing legislation that takes money out of their pocket, there's going to be a lot of people who are not going to be very happy about that.
There would be some really interesting conversations, I would imagine, that are being had between those people if that were to come to pass. I am fascinated by the former governor still obviously being very involved in Chicago politics. You have followed him for a long time, even though obviously not the governor anymore. Does he still have the weight to throw around? Does he still walk through those halls with the kind of power that he's used to walking through those halls with?
Well, he definitely has the ear of Speaker Welch, and he's got the ear of Rep. LaShawn Ford because they served together in the Capitol in Springfield so many years ago. So he has enough influence there to say, hey, this has been my idea for many, many years. We can implement it. And I think the former governor said something today that has been an issue not only this year, but the last few years. He said, I think this is the year of affordability. It doesn't matter who has been in the White House the last 20 years, it seems like. Affordability continues to be one of the drivers for why people go out and vote or why they don't go out and vote. And there's still so many people who are suffering out there, whether it be their property taxes, whether it be high inflation, the price of groceries, how things have just gotten so expensive for them. They're choosing whether they want to put the lights on, whether they want to go and buy groceries, whether they're going to pay a credit card bill. These are pocketbook issues that continue to just not go away, but they also are issues that affect nearly everyone. So especially something like this, they are placing a bet right now to say, I think there is enough support if you put this to the vote of the people that they want to be able to put this millionaire tax proposal in place.
We're talking a lot about the former governor. Has the current governor commented at all on this? Has he given his opinion one way or the other?
I don't believe he has, but this past spring in Springfield, it simply did not have the support in order to go through the House or the Senate. So that's why it ended up not passing.
So what do you think is going to be the next step? If you were to look ahead in a crystal ball of your next coverage of this story, what would you say you think is going to be come to pass?
There's going to be some big. I believe there was a city council meeting today where they're talking about what state questions they want to go put on the November ballot and potentially what they could put on the February ballot. There's another rule here in the state of Illinois. If you were to do any kind of referendum question or state question, you are limited to 3 questions per election cycle per municipality. So if you got the November election, there could only be for the city of Chicago, or let's just say you live in Rosemont or Park Ridge, whatever it is, you're limited to 3 questions. You might have to wait until February. February is going to be a very important one, but also if you put it on the November ballot, we're talking about midterm elections. So this is potential high turnout. When you get a primary election like in February or March like that, the number of voters coming out is just going to be a lot smaller. You're definitely going to have a lot more voters in a November election, whether you're voting in a midterm or if it's a presidential election.
You mentioned February, and you're right. That is obviously going to be a huge election. I'd imagine you are already looking forward to how we're going to be covering that here on Fox 32. And we just spoke with someone from the Stop ShotSpotter Coalition about sort of looking ahead. Obviously, the current mayor has not announced whether or not he will be, running for re-election. And so there seems to be a lot of different paths that the city, and then by reference, a lot of people involved in politics could be taking. No one really knows what direction they're going to be moving forward.
And it's going to be, and I had a conversation this past 4th of July with a person who is a former high-ranking member of a union here in the city of Chicago, and I know they're waiting for one person in particular to officially announce he is running for mayor, and they said if he decides to run, he's going to have the support of the majority of the unions out there, which, after all, it doesn't necessarily mean just because you have the support of the union, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're automatically going to win. But when you have the majority of the unions backing you, you have their coalition, you potentially have voters, you get a lot of support there potentially. But it's already been a crowded field for the city of Chicago. But the other big issue, which we also talk a lot about right here on Fox Chicago, and just for the last year or so, is public safety. Public safety is going to be a big thing on the ballot. Not necessarily for November, but it's definitely going to be the case in February.
It's the story that keeps on giving, one way or the other. What time are you on today? Do we know?
So I'm going to be anchoring 4 o'clock show, and then there'll be some version of this at 4 or 5, and I'm guessing 9 o'clock tonight. But you know what? Things can also change here. This is a fluid situation.
That's what we had Salerno, our amazing 5 p.m. producer, on the show yesterday, and I said, listen, I asked her what reporter was on what story, and she literally had to pause and go, it shifts midday. It's ever shifting. Rep. Gansky, my man, appreciate you. Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you
tonight,
too,
my man. All right, guys, Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Just about 1:46 on Chicago Live. We teased it. We delivered as promised. Lawrence Capiti. Wow.
How we doing?
You got a who?
Yeah, from the producer, Perry.
I've
love
never
that.
heard Perry give anyone a woo before.
Perry, I'm so honored.
Wow.
I will never forget that will go down in Chicago Live history.
The Perry Stewart woo.
I'm almost a little bit upset, though, because I've only been here for 4 months and I got a lot more Chicago Live to go. So if I don't get that every single time I'm on this show, I will be disappointed.
I will go ahead and say, for the record, I have yet to get a woo.
My girl, Perry.
Oh,
my
yeah,
gosh.
boo. Yeah.
I will come back whenever you will have me, Perry.
Listen, this is a huge day. You were kind of teasing it for a while.
Yep.
And then you were finally able to say what it was. And it was something great, which is always good.
Yes.
So tell people you're dropping a podcast today. And it's such a brilliant idea for one. Tell people about it.
Jake, I feel like this is better than Christmas morning. I mean, this is something that I have been looking forward to for so long. When I came to Fox Chicago, I remember having conversations saying, I want to bring this podcast back. This is something that I have done before, and it was really, really fun, and I really want to do it now. Basically, at the end of the day, it's just me wanting to have fun at work. You know, work is so fun. I love all of the shows that I'm doing, but we do deal with a lot of serious stuff. So really, this is also a way for me to just kind of sit back, relax, and have a good time. Just kind of hang out with some of these people. So it's called Not Live. It just dropped today at about an hour and 47 minutes ago. It drops on Thursdays at noon.
Love that. Every Thursday at noon?
Yep, exactly. So you'll be seeing me here. I'm going to invite myself every Thursday to Chicago Live. Is that good with you?
You're on.
Perry, I think it's already good with you, right? Yeah, Perry gave us the thumbs up.
Apparently you're in the woo category of the show. So apparently that gets you an automatic invite. No, but it's such a great sort of hook into the show because, I mean, obviously, like you said, you talk with a lot of serious newsmakers. But they also have Chicago stories that branch outside of whatever their particular field is, whether it be sports, whether it be politics, whether it be health, or whatever the case may be. Some people just have great Chicago stories, and that's kind of the idea of sort of getting to those. Exactly.
It's breaking down the big title, the fancy title that they've got on their resume, and just getting to know the person behind that title. So we see all of these influential people in the state, talking behind a podium, talking about really serious stuff. And of course, that's their job. I get that. But I also realize and recognize that there's a person behind that big fancy title, kind of like you and me. Not to put us in the same category, but where we go home and we do the same thing that everybody else does every single day. So do these people. And I realized that. And I thought, I want to get to know that person. These people's are aunts and uncles, they're friends, they're someone's hilarious best friend. And that's who I want to get to know on this podcast. So asking them questions that they don't normally get to answer. For example, Governor Pritzker is not often answering the question, what did your childhood bedroom look like? And I got to ask him that on the podcast. I'll let you guys know.
What posters did he have? That's such a great, that's a great sort of gauge for, wait, what poster did you have?
He had Farrah Fawcett.
Love
which
it.
is iconic, right? But did you hear it?
That's a great answer.
But to hear the governor of the
That's-
state
she's
say stuff
legendary.
like that, I mean, right? Like, he's just a normal guy. So it was so cool to have these conversations. I'm not going to blow any more guests. I will tell you that is the guest next week. So you're going to
That's a great lead off.
Great way
that's
to start the whole series, right? But just asking them things that they don't normally get to talk about. I'm sure he has never been asked that question in an interview. I'm sure he's also never been asked, would you rather every single time you walk into a room do a cartwheel or sing your name opera style? What would you rather do?
The wheels are turning. Hold on. Here's what I'm going to say. I think I'm going to have to do opera just because, one, I love the sound of my own name.
Everybody does.
And two, I don't think I can do a cartwheel. I haven't tried in a very long time, but I'm 98% sure. Here's what I can tell you. We're not going to find out right now.
I was just about to ask you. I already saw my wheels
your wheels turning, and I could hear your wheels turning over there. It's not going to happen.
Okay, so then at 4 o'clock, you got to do a cartwheel. And then
I'll tell you what. Maybe on the loop. That doesn't feel like a Chicago Live kind of thing.
Okay.
Listen, we got a certain vibe.
Yeah, we can do it. We don't have to do
it
it on air. I might capture it on my phone to put on Instagram, but we don't have to do it on air.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But no, that's such a great sort of. But whenever you ask those questions like that, because you'd imagine someone like a governor, a politician, whatever the case may be, they're prepared coming in, and they're very good at this.
Yes.
A politician tends to be very good at being interviewed. And if you can kind of catch them in that moment where you almost see them going like, oh crap, in their head, where like they don't have that go-to automatic answer, that's got to be a cool feeling.
I have really enjoyed just kind of seeing some of them stare at me
and
start laughing. And they're like, oh, that is good. Like, I'll tell you, there's someone else who you see all the time here in the city of Chicago. I said, so what do your kids think you do all day? And he just started laughing. He's like,
Yeah.
I've never been asked that before.
Yeah.
So it's really, really cool to see them just kind of caught off guard a little
Yeah.
bit, because like you said, it's not these questions that they're used to answering. They could answer a lot of those questions, I think, in their sleep.
Sure.
So we also talked about the Bears with Governor Pritzker, of course. You know,
Sure.
this really isn't the place for that, but it
He's
just
probably
kinda
talking about the
came
Bears in his
up.
sleep.
Yeah.
Like, that's, you know.
Yeah. So I asked him a question that I haven't heard him get asked at all. It wasn't, you know, what are we going to do about the dollars and this and that. It was, would you go to a game in Hammond, Indiana?
It's a fair question.
Right? I mean,
Are we allowed to know what he said, or is it we have to tune in to find out?
You guys can
Yeah,
tune in.
we gotta tune in
He
to
did
find
say
out.
that he would
Yeah,
call them the
yeah.
ham and hams for a little while if it
Yes,
ended up happening.
yes.
But these are conversations that are not happening on stages, on podiums, in big crowds, in big arenas. So it's really cool to just see the people that you see every day just in a different light, and just laugh and see them smile and talk about things that got them to where they are today.
And you know, we had a manager who worked here for a while, and she used to say that didn't matter what the story was, there was a Chicago connection to everything and
Yes.
to everyone. She said, you know, no, you know, obviously it would be a very serious story if it were the case, but a plane could crash on the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
And someone on that plane was from the city of Chicago.
100%.
And most of the stories, the major stories I've seen come through that are worldwide stories that don't on the surface have anything to do with the city of Chicago, eventually we find out within an hour or two there's a Chicago connection. Are you sort of
Exactly.
finding that with people that, like, maybe even people you didn't even realize? Obviously, the governor has a connection to our
Right.
city, but I'd imagine there are people out there that you might not even realize have Chicago connections that have Chicago connections.
The way my jaw hit the floor as I was doing a little bit of investigating to get my list put together, you guys should see the Excel doc that I have for all of the people
Love
that
it.
I want to get on this podcast. It's about 200 people deep. I'm not exaggerating. And it's, you know, what is their connection to Illinois? Because, I didn't remember that so-and-so was born in Lake Forest.
Sure.
Or that so-and-so went to school in Carbondale. Or, you know, I mean, it's the craziest things that you wouldn't know, you know, seeing them on screens
Right.
or whatever it is. But yeah, the list has gotten out of control, but I am looking for more people. So this is my call out to you guys. If you guys have anybody in mind that you want to hear from, if you want to know what their childhood bedroom looks like, or what they eat for breakfast, or what they like to do on the weekends, or what their favorite soup code is, whatever it is, let me know. You know, get in my DMs, email me. I'm seeing everything and I want to see it. I've already heard from a lot of people and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that person. So your input is really helpful.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, you know, we're talking about sort of big name people right now, but is there room for, you know, neighborhood legends, neighborhood celebrities, the guy behind the counter of the bar that everyone goes to on a Saturday night, or a guy who, you know, slices up the pastrami on everyone at everyone's favorite deli? Is there room for a redefining of the word celebrity?
100%, because those are the people that we interact with all of the time, the people
Yeah.
that we see day to day. I mean, we might see those people even more than we see the governor or, you know, anyone else on the podcast. So there is definitely room for that, and I want to hear from people, and I want feedback too. If you're like, oh my gosh, I want to hear from this person and I want to know this question, so get in touch with me, let me know. But it really has been so fun. We've got a lot of these in the can. I was like, you know what, let's get ahead of schedule. I want to be able to just kind of run it and gun it and do the whole thing. So we've got like 6 episodes done, and I will say the first 6 episodes are really, really good.
And that says a lot, because the first couple of episodes of a podcast can be rough. You know, I
Right.
did a movie podcast for a long time with my buddies, and we always used to laugh. You know, we eventually got a couple of hundred of episodes in, but we always used to laugh, like, don't go back and listen to the first 20, the first 30, because we really hadn't figured out what we were doing yet. So my point is if it's starting out that strong, who knows where it's going to be in 15, 20, 30, 50 episodes.
Exactly. So I'm along for the ride. I cannot wait. This is going to be so much fun. Every Thursday, please don't miss it. I feel like Thursday's a good day too.
It's a great day.
And noon is great because
Yeah.
you can catch it at lunch, or you
Yeah.
can watch it on your way home, or listen to it on your way home.
Yeah.
It is a video and audio podcast, so if you like to watch,
Perfect.
you can watch.
Wait,
If
where
you-
can they find the video?
So this thing is literally everywhere. It is on our website,
inescapable.
foxchicago.com. It's on our YouTube page. It's on our app. It's also on Spotify, Apple, you know, all of those things. So
Yeah.
you can get it literally anywhere. So you don't have an excuse to not listen.
I want to ask you this. Obviously, you have a long history in our city. You have a
Uh-huh.
lifetime of history in our city. Thinking about the questions that you've asked your guests, if you were a guest on this show and you had to answer these questions, what's the question that would most make you pause and go, "Oh my God, what am I going to say here?"
Some of them are as simple as, how do you make a perfect grilled cheese sandwich?
That's a great question, because
How's
that
your
leads
answer?
into a whole other thing. You know, here's what I will tell you. Up until a year ago, I would have answered it one way.
Okay.
And then I found Iris and we got together, and she's changed a lot about my life, obviously. And but I don't want to say one of the biggest because we have a kid on the way, so not one of the biggest, but one of the most interesting is how I make my grilled cheese sandwich.
Okay, lay it on me.
The big defining factor was we use sourdough bread.
Okay.
We go get fresh sliced sourdough bread. Don't buy pre-sliced. You need to get the loaf, have them slice it, and then that changes everything. The way that I thought, but here's why I think that's a great question. Because it's not just a list of ingredients and what you do. It yields. I literally just started telling a personal story about Iris and I together. So it's a great question because it does end up yielding a whole personal thing.
100%. Or a simple question like, oh, how did you meet your wife? Turned into, oh, well, you're going to love this one. My friend thought that this girl at the bar was cute, and so he asked me, and I'm saying it as in the person, he asked me to go over and, say hi to her and tell her that, the friend thought she was cute. So this very significant person in our area went over to that girl and was like, hey, my friend thinks you're cute. You want to get to know him, blah, blah, blah. Well, that guy, the one that you all know, was like, oh, wait, she's mine. I need her. Ended up marrying her.
I want to hear that story from the perspective of the friend who was on the other side of the bar going, what is going on here? Like I want to see the two different versions of that story happening simultaneously.
Right.
Really quick before we let you go, one more time, what is the name of the podcast? Where can we find it? Every Thursday at noon?
Yes, Correctamundo. Every Thursday at noon, Not Live is going to drop. And the reason that we called it Not Live is because literally everything that I do on TV is live. This is live.
Yeah.
The name of this show is Chicago Live.
Right there.
And I was like, this is so the opposite of that. I just want to hang out. I just want to sit back, relax. Like, this is not the, uptight. You got to really watch what you say. You can say whatever you want because we're not live.
Do you swear?
Okay, so I don't swear. I had an interview yesterday and they swore for the first time and it happened and I was like, oh.
We can wait.
What do we do?
I tell my guests all the time, it's Chicago. We can swear. Hopefully we'll bleep it out in post. If not, it's Chicago. Let me ask you this. This show's called Chicago Live.
Yeah.
Your show is called Not Live.
Yeah.
If the two were to get in a fight, who would win? Could your show beat up this show?
I think it would be a tie, and they would call it.
That feels like a political answer.
No, they can't. They can't call it not
changed
Chicago.
to a boo. Your woo changed to a boo. Look at that.
Over it.
Look at that. Look at that. They pulled the graphic up on you. All right.
Chicago Live is 3 hours long. Not Live is only like an hour, so I have to say Chicago Live would probably kick my booty.
If anything, it has the endurance, I can tell you that. Lois Capiti, congratulations. Well done. Episode 1. We'll have you back next week. Honestly, we'll have you back next week. We'll talk about it. Oh, everyone calm down with the cheers and the woos.
I'm going to be back tomorrow. I think I prefer over just
you know what?
week.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to have my agent rework my contract. We're going to go to break. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Just about 2:01 on Chicago Live. So we're about to go live in just a moment to a press conference. Here's some background. So Chicago immigrant advocacy groups say that they are seeing a sharp increase in immigration enforcement across the city. The Illinois Latino Agenda is actually holding an emergency news press conference this afternoon in the back of the yards, citing more reports of ICE activity in neighborhoods, including Gage Park, Pilsen, Humboldt Park, and Albany Park. Advocates say arrests have increased since large-scale operations ended late last year, with more people also seeking immigration-related legal help. They believe that the actual number of arrests may be higher than what has been documented. Let's check in for a second. Perry, have we started speaking on this yet? Okay, so they're still setting up. We're going to check in once they start speaking on this, but I believe Casey Cronus is out there, and so she is going to be reporting on this from back of the yards during our 4 and 5 p.m. shows. So again, if you're just tuning in, Chicago immigrant advocacy groups saying that they are seeing a sharp increase in immigration enforcement across the city. The press conference that we're going to be dipping into, it's the Illinois Latino Agenda. They are holding this news conference just in a couple of moments in the back of the yards neighborhood that you saw. They are citing more reports of ICE activity in multiple neighborhoods, including Gage Park, Pilsen, Humboldt Park, and Albany Park. And advocates are saying that arrests have increased since large-scale operations ended late last year. Of course, we were following that story on an hourly basis, on a daily basis, on a minute-by-minute basis. We were following that. All of our Fox 32 reporters were out in the field covering that. More people are also seeking immigration-related legal help, they say, and they also believe that the actual number of arrests might be higher, actually, than what has been documented. So we're going to be checking in with that press conference in just a moment. It is looking like it's setting up. It was supposed to begin at just about 2 o'clock. It looks like we have the mic stand set up. They got all the mic flags there, and it looks like someone might be stepping up to the podium in just a minute to weigh in on this.
All right, so I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to introduce you. Oh, okay. That works. You ready to get started? Yes. Turn it off already? Yeah.
Can you give us 1 minute?
What about here? This one work?
No, I'm just trying to fix this guy's mic.
Oh.
We need about 1 minute.
Would it work if you put it here?
I don't know if we can turn it on.
Do you want to put it on the stand? Yeah, okay.
I have no idea. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to put it right here, man. I think that's close enough.
Okay. Hey, Marcy. So it's Berto, Monse, Marcy, and Raul. Okay?
Just give Monse some time. She can start recording.
Sorry, if you haven't heard.
Angel Gutierrez, CTS board.
Ahora sí, ¿lista?
Yes.
Good to start?
Yes, good start.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this press conference that we're hosting this afternoon. I'm Jose Munoz. I'm the co-chair of the Illinois Latino Agenda, and I'll be your MC today. So I'm just introducing our speakers today. First up, we're going to have Berto Aguayo, who's an attorney and with the Latino Leadership Council.
Thank you, Jose. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Berto Aguayo. I'm an attorney. I'm a Back of the Yards resident. I was born and raised in this community, and I am here as the policy co-chair of the Latino Leadership Council. My name is spelled B-E-R-T-O, Berto. Last name Aguayo, A-G-U-A-Y-O. Months ago, when Operation Midway Blitz began, community leaders stood together, just like today, to sound the alarm. We warned people about what was happening, but we also reminded our neighbors that we are not alone, that they are not alone. We told people to know their rights, to stay connected, and that in moments of fear, the most important thing that we can do is to take care of one another. Today, months later, we are standing here again because we are seeing a surge in ICE activity here in Back of the Yards, in surrounding neighborhoods, and across the Chicagoland area. Despite claims that Operation Midway Blitz has ended, it is not over. Our communities continue to feel the impact. Families are still living with the consequences, and litigation continues to this day over the continuing harm caused by this operation. So our message today remains the same. If you are vulnerable, please take precautions and limit going outdoors. Know your rights. Stay informed. Connect with trusted community organizations and your neighbors. And for those of us who are U.S. citizens, we have a responsibility. Take care of your neighbors. Check in on families. If you see ICE activity, document it safely and alert community members. Because when other people try to use fear to divide us, our response has to be taking care of one another. It has to be community. We also know that this fight is bigger than just Chicago. Today we stand in solidarity with communities all across the U.S. who are also experiencing a surge, specifically in Texas, where we are in solidarity with Texas demanding justice for Lorenzo Salgado Araujo and his family. And here at home, we continue to demand justice for Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, who was killed during Operation Midway Blitz, for Marimar Martinez, who was shot, and for every person and family harmed by this operation. Accountability matters because no one is above the law, and because all of these people that are affected have a family, have a story, and their loved ones deserve justice. So today, we remind our neighbors that you are not alone. We have protected each other before. We have shown up for one another before, and we will continue to do so. Because our community has always been the strongest when we choose to take care of one another and stand with each other. Now in Spanish. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Berto Aguayo. Soy abogado y residente del barrio de las Empacadoras y estoy aquí como copresidente de política pública de Latino Leadership Council. Hace meses, cuando empezó la operación Midway Blitz, líderes comunitarios nos unimos para sonar la alarma. Le advertimos a nuestra comunidad sobre lo que estaba pasando, pero también les recordamos a nuestros vecinos que no están solos, que estamos aquí con ustedes. Le dijimos a nuestra comunidad que conocieran sus derechos, que se mantuvieran conectados y que en momentos de miedo lo más importante es cuidarnos uno al otro. Hoy, meses después, estamos aquí de nuevo porque estamos viendo un aumento de actividad de ICE aquí en el barrio de las Empacadoras, en los vecindarios del suroeste y en el área de Chicago. Aunque algunos dicen que la operación Midway Blitz ha terminado, no ha terminado. Nuestras comunidades siguen sintiendo el impacto. Las familias siguen viviendo con las consecuencias sobre el daño que ha causado esta operación. Por eso nuestro mensaje aquí sigue siendo el mismo. Si usted es vulnerable, por favor tome precauciones, conozca sus derechos, manténgase informado, Conéctese con organizaciones comunitarias de confianza como las que están aquí y con sus vecinos. Y para aquellos que son ciudadanos estadounidenses, tenemos una responsabilidad. Cuiden a sus vecinos. Pregunten cómo están las familias a su alrededor. Y si ven actividad de ICE, documenten de manera segura y alerten a la comunidad. Porque cuando ellos tratan de usar el miedo para dividirnos, nuestra respuesta tiene que ser comunidad y estar unidos con uno al otro. También sabemos que esta lucha es más grande que Chicago. Hoy nos unimos con nuestras comunidades en Texas y exigimos justicia para Lorenzo Salgado Araujo y a su familia. Y aquí en Chicago seguimos exigiendo justicia para Silverio Villegas González, quien fue asesinado durante el operativo de Midway Blitz, para Marimar Martínez, que recibió 5 disparos, y para cada persona y familia afectada por esta operación. La rendición de cuentas es importante porque cada persona tiene un nombre, tiene una historia, y su familia merece justicia, pero también porque nadie está encima de la ley. Así que hoy les recordamos a nuestros vecinos que no están solos. Nos hemos protegido antes, nos hemos apoyado antes y lo seguiremos haciendo, porque nuestra comunidad siempre ha sido más fuerte cuando nos unimos y nos cuidamos uno al otro. Gracias. Y ahora, Montse.
Sure. No, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Montse Ayala. I am the Executive Director of Increase the Peace Chicago. Over the last 3 days, we've seen a significant increase in reports of ICE and federal immigration activity across neighborhoods around the Southwest Side, particularly in Back of the Yards, Gage Park, Brighton Park, and surrounding neighborhoods. Whether we're knocking on doors, talking with our young people and their families, the message has been the same. It's normal for people to be scared. Routines are changing, but we know what to do next. Our message is simple. Prepare, don't panic. If you or your family may be impacted, take this time now to know your rights. Make a family emergency plan. And get connected to trusted organizations like you see before you today. And for those of us who have the privilege of citizenship status, like myself, this is our moment to step up. Check in with your neighbors. Share accurate information, not rumors. Volunteer. Support local rapid response networks and efforts, because protecting our immigrant families isn't just their responsibility, it's all of ours. At ITP, we've always believed that the strength of our neighborhoods comes from those who are most impacted. And this is how we show up for one another. Fear can isolate us, but community keeps us connected. And that's how we'll get through to this, together. I'm going to do this in Spanish. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Montserrat Ayala y soy la directora ejecutiva de Incrementa la Paz. Durante los últimos 3 a 4 días hemos visto un aumento preocupante de actividad con agentes federales y migración, particularmente en comunidades como Back of the Yards, el barrio de Desembarcadoras, Gage Park y Brighton Park, y vecindarios del suroeste de Chicago. Cuando estamos tocando las puertas, hablando con nuestros jóvenes, vecinos y familias, el mensaje siempre ha sido lo mismo. Y entendemos que podemos sentir miedo e incertidumbre. Pero muchas personas sabemos qué hacer. Nuestro mensaje hoy es claro. Prepárense y no entren en pánico. Si usted o su familia pueden ser los más vulnerables o pueden ser afectados, este es el momento de conocer sus derechos si no lo han hecho antes. Hagan un plan familiar y conectarse con organizaciones de confianza antes de que ocurra una emergencia. Y para quienes tenemos el privilegio de ser ciudadanos como nosotros, como yo, este es el momento de dar un paso al frente. Informemos, no difundamos rumores. Acompañaremos a nuestras familias inmigrantes y apoyamos los esfuerzos de respuesta rápida y cuidamos a nuestros vecinos. En Increase the Peace y nosotros en esta coalización hemos creado la fuerza de nuestra comunidad, en cómo nos cuidamos a unos a los otros. Y hoy, más que nunca, es el llamado de mantenernos unidos. Gracias.
Now we'd like to introduce Marcela Rodriguez, co-chair of the Illinois Latino Agenda and executive director of Enlace.
Hello, everyone. We're here today because our immigrant communities continue to face fear, uncertainty, and trauma as federal immigration enforcement increases across Chicago and our nation. In recent weeks, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has significantly increased arrests nationwide. Here in Chicago, we have seen a shift away from highly publicized efforts and tactics to more targeted enforcement in our neighborhoods, homes, grocery stores, courthouses, and other places where families live their everyday lives. We learned that last week, about 21 people were taken, and this week alone, up to today, 17 people across our communities have been taken. We know that they are targeting areas around schools, even though summer programs are taking place. At Enlace Chicago, requests for legal services have doubled just in the past couple of weeks. Families are desperately seeking guidance, representation, and answers during the most difficult moments of their lives. We are also witnessing the expansion of what immigrant advocates are calling mega master calendar hearings. Dockets that were once scheduled 20 to 50 cases are now regularly scheduling 100 cases at a time. These expedited proceedings leave many people with little time to secure legal counsel and representation or prepare for the next stage of their case. We are currently assisting community members who leave these hearings with scheduling orders, and we continue to monitor an increased number of mega master hearings taking place in the Chicago Immigration Court. Many of these scheduling orders include deadlines as short as 20 days for required filings, including written pleadings, leaving families with little to no time to seek legal counsel. Missing a future hearing or failing to comply with court deadlines can result in serious consequences, including an in absentia removal order. These numbers represent more than statistics. They represent parents, children, workers, neighbors, small business owners, and members of our community who deserve dignity, fairness, and due process. We stand here today to denounce enforcement practices that continue to disproportionately impact communities because of the color of their skin, the language they speak, and the neighborhoods they call home. Even though the height of Midway Blitz was months ago, our communities are still emotionally, financially, and psychologically scarred. Families remain afraid to seek medical care, attend school events, shop local businesses, or simply live their everyday lives. At Enlace Chicago, we continue to respond every day with legal assistance, mental health support, financial assistance, and family stabilization, because the impact of these operations does not end when the headlines fade. That is why accountability is still mattered. Following Operation Midway Blitz, a broad coalition of community organizations, faith leaders, advocates, and directly impacted families asked the Cook County courts to appoint an independent special prosecutor to investigate the deaths, violence, and alleged criminal conduct that occurred during the operation. Although the court declined our request, many of us remain deeply disappointed and worried because we believe that every credible allegation deserves an independent and transparent investigation. Today, this call could not be more urgent. Just days ago in Texas, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, a 52-year-old construction worker who lived in this country for more than 3 decades, was killed by ICE. When is enough enough? How many more lives must be taken? How many more lives how many more families must be separated? How many more children must live in fear? We must appoint an independent prosecutor. Accountability is not about politics. It's about protecting human life, preserving public trust, and ensuring that justice applies equally to everyone. And yet, despite all of this, our communities refuse to be defined by fear. We choose resilience, we choose solidarity, and we choose community. Rapid response networks across the city and state have expanded volunteer training, strengthening communication systems, and built block-by-block response teams to verify reports and connect families to trusted resources. Today, we also want every family to know that they are not alone. If you witness something or need assistance, please contact the ICER Family Support Network at 855-435-7693. If you observe vehicles displaying illegal, missing, or obscured license plates, report them to the Illinois Secretary of State Plate Watch Hotline at 312-814-1730. If your family, school, congregation, or organization needs Know Your Rights training, legal resources, and LASA Chicago, just like many other organizations behind me, are here to stand with you and provide those services. In response to these developments, I also want to announce that in August, LASA Chicago, in partnership with Beyond Legal Aid, will host a community information workshop for individuals affected by these mega master hearings. Please look for more information on that. We will share widely. We cannot allow fear to become defining characteristic of our neighborhoods, nor can we allow silence to be the response to injustice. We must continue to organize. We must continue to educate. We must continue to protect one another, and we must continue to raise our voices and demand accountability. And we must continue to stand together so that every family, regardless of where they're born, are treated with dignity, fairness, humanity, and justice. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Raul Raimundo, President and CEO of the Resurrection Project.
Thank you, Jose. I'm also a member of the Illinois Latino Agenda. Over the past month, across immigrant legal services providers, our outreach has doubled. From 900 to over 1,700 inquiries have come through our legal services providers' allies. As a result of this surge of detentions that we are witnessing, that's never been about getting criminals off the street. It never was. They are targeting people who are showing up in court dates, people who are showing up in immigration check-ins. In other words, they are targeting people who are doing everything by the rules that they are following. They're following due process. They're following the letter of the law, and yet they are being punished for following the rules. Think about what this means. We are telling families to trust the system, follow the rules, do things the right way, and then by the very act of showing up, of playing by the rules, they are being used against them, these rules. They are being detained. This is not justice. This is cruelty and fundamentally un-American. For our communities, this has become a matter of life and death. Last September, as you know, Silvenio Villegas Gonzalez was killed by ICE agents. Just yesterday, in Houston, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo lost his life at the hands of our government, an ICE agent, a person who had been contributing to this country for over 30 years, who has 3 U.S.-born citizens contributing to this country, and yet our government took his life. Over the past few weeks, we have seen and felt fear in the back of the yards community and across the state of Illinois. Today, our message to our community is simple. First, it is important that you know your rights, know how to use them, and touch bases with organizations to further educate you on know your rights. Secondly, and especially because of who is being targeted, if you have an appointment with a court at a court upcoming date, prepare now. Memorize your legal representative. It is important that you know their number right off. That's the first number you need to remember. Memorize it. Don't just have it in your pocket. And reach out to organizations. There are many of us here that are coordinating legal efforts across the state. TRPIJ.org has a list of many legal providers and partners there that can help you before your date arrives. If your loved one is detained, call the immigrant hotline, 855-435-7693. Remember that number. Write it down. Finally, we will not let fear win. We will meet this moment and punish those in November who are not with us. This is an issue on both sides of the aisles. To Democrats, you need to be put on notice that you need to be fighting harder for our rights. To Republicans, you're violating our rights, and we will not stand for it. En breve, mi nombre es Raúl Raimundo, director del proyecto Resurrección. Este mes pasado hemos visto llamadas que han sido doble. De 900 a más de 1,700 llamadas hemos recibido para ayuda porque han detenido a nuestra comunidad. Queremos aquí, en resumen, que nuestra gente se organice, que nuestra gente se prepare, que nuestra gente colabore colectivamente para educarse e informarse. Porque lo que están haciendo es injusticia. Están deteniendo a personas que están siguiendo las reglas, están yendo a la corte, están yendo a su cita. Y cuando llegan a su cita, los están deteniendo. Eso es injusticia, eso no se debe de tolerar. Necesitamos que todos recuerden que necesitan un abogado y vayan ahora a prepararse con un abogado si van a tener una cita. Recuerden este número, 855-435-7693. Recuérdenlo, no nomás lo escriban, para poder llamar en caso de que sean detenidos. Organizaciones como el Proyecto de Resolución pueden ir a nuestra página electrónica trpij.org para investigar qué organizaciones están dando servicios legales para esto. Finalmente, no vamos a dejar que esta incertidumbre, que esta injusticia nos gane. Tenemos que juntarnos, nosotros como ciudadanos, participar en las elecciones de noviembre, porque queremos dejar un anuncio aquí, un mensaje fuerte. A los demócratas tienen que pelear más por nuestros derechos, más fuerte. A los republicanos no vamos a tolerar que sigan violando nuestros derechos. Gracias.
Now I'd like to introduce State Representative Teresa Ma.
Good afternoon. I'm State Representative Teresa Ma. I represent the 24th House District, which includes the neighborhoods of Pilsen, Chinatown, Bridgeport, McKinley Park, Brighton Park, and Back of the Yards. These are predominantly immigrant communities. I'm proud to be the daughter of immigrants and to represent immigrants in my district. I am here to stand firmly with the members of my community and to decry the violence that's been directed at my community, the increase in ICE activity, the attacks on our community members, the violence and even death at the hands of ICE, and the lack of due process for many of our community members. I stand firmly with everyone, and my office continues to participate in efforts to inform community members of their rights, and to participate in the rapid response efforts, to support the organizations that are involved in this network that we've formed here in Chicago to protect our families, and to treat everyone, regardless of status, as members of the community that we represent. In Springfield, I'm proud to live and work in a state like Springfield that continues to support policies that welcome immigrants and protect them. And this issue is very personal to me, and I want to end with a message of hope. In 1924, my own grandfather came to the United States without proper authorization. He lived and worked in this country and contributed to its economy for 30 years before laws changed and allowed him to change his status, become a citizen, and sponsor my parents to come over to the United States. And then shortly after, I was born. So, I have very deeply felt understanding that community members are community members. They contribute to the wealth and the economy and the vibrancy and diversity of the places where we live. And we need to stand up to make sure that everyone has their rights and is protected and is not under attack like they are, and terrorized like they are currently under this administration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we close out and open it up for questions, I want to acknowledge elected school board members Yesenia Lopez and Angel Gutierrez, who are here with us today in support, and our other members of the Illinois Latino Agenda and members of the Latino Lawyers Association who are here in support, and all our young people who are here, who are organizing in community and keeping our community safe. With that, I'm going to open it up to questions. Yeah, I think the more important message that we want to get out today is this idea that Midway Blitz ended. It has never ended. Midway Blitz has continued to reign terror in our neighborhoods. And over the last few days, what we've seen is a surge of that same operation where they're going after people in community, making arrests, and there are people on the streets who are in fear, or in their homes who are in fear of ICE and other folks that are in community. Doing these same similar actions that we've seen throughout the year. Yes. We can, and yes, it's happened, but I'll open it up to any members. Raul, is somebody? You got it? Okay.
All right, we're listening in on community leaders responding to a surge in ICE activity. We're going to have more on that. You heard Casey Cronus asking the first question in that press conference. We're going to have more live from Casey coming up during our 4 and 5 o'clock shows. We want to move on to a different topic entirely for just a second, because the Shannon Rovers are celebrating their 100th anniversary at Soldier Field in just a couple of hours. 100 years, one legendary night, one iconic field. They are saying. We're going to talk with Marty McAndrew, who is the band manager. Marty, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
Glad to be with you. How are you guys?
I'm doing very well. Marty, let me just ask you, for someone who's maybe somehow never heard of the Shannon Rovers, tell us a little bit about you guys.
Boy, that's a tough one. I hope there's not too many people who haven't heard of us, but we've been in Chicago now for 100 years. So it was started in 1926. It's an Irish folk bagpipe band. We started in 1926, and this is our 100th anniversary. We play for kings, queens, presidents, you know, along those lines. But mostly we're playing for the families and events here in Chicago.
I mean, 100 years, you guys are clearly doing something right. I mean, how do you, I mean, obviously it's going to be a big celebration a little bit. Well, I guess that's a good segue. What tell us a little about what's happening a little bit later on today.
Yeah, so right, you can see from my office window here across the hallway, across the little pond here at Lake Michigan. At Soldier Field tonight, we're having our gala. It's the 100th anniversary gala. It starts at 5:30. It goes to 11:30. We're going to have a couple performances by the Shannon Rovers, but more importantly, we're going to have a lovely evening of things to see and experiences that you may not get at any time before or any time after for a 100th celebration, with 3 different bands playing with us to keep the evening going for a lovely 6 hours of entertainment here in Chicago.
Marty, let me ask you, man, a lot can change in 100 years. 1926, I mean, a lot's changed in the city of Chicago and the country and the world. What about the Rovers do you think maybe it's nice that it's changed? And what about the Rovers are you glad has stayed the same?
Yeah, I would say that there's definitely some things that have changed. Our music changes a little bit overall, but for the most part, the music that we play is based on areas and towns and counties within Chicago, or excuse me, within Ireland, and that brings some of those memories back to everybody who's come across the pond. You know, it was started by folks who saw a need to uplift the spirits. You think about the 20s and the 30s. Yeah, we were going through an era of the Depression. And that was really, really challenging for a lot of folks. And what we tried to do in those days is what we do today. Try to bring a little bit of life and a little excitement and entertainment to folks to forget a little bit what's going on in the world around them. So I think that's one of the reasons we became pretty popular, and one of the reasons that we have been able to sustain is we're trying to bring a little levity and a bit of life and merriment into the folks around us.
I think pretty popular is an understatement. You guys right now are composed of more than 80 pipers, drummers, and color guard members. What does it take to be a member of the Rovers? You guys are clearly, you lasted 100 years. Let's hope for 100, 200, 300 more, which means you're the best of the best of what you do. So what does it take to be a member of the Rovers?
Well, first off, it takes the courage to wear an outfit like this in
Hey,
your
you
office,
look good,
right?
man. Don't talk bad about my friend Marty. You look fantastic.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But it is that. It's about the staying power of going through this. And it's humbling. Believe me, it is really humbling to be a part of it. My family's been involved since 1956. My father was there before me. My son is with me now. But that's a story that goes throughout the Rovers. Father, son, sisters, brothers. And, you know, you have that tight bond of those guys, you know, egging each other on and learning from each other. But it's so great when you see a student come from not being able to play a drum or a pipe at all, but then to see them on the floor or in the parades, it's really, really rewarding for us as Rovers to see that kind of reaction from people as well.
You mentioned the great uniform that you're wearing. Like I said, I'll stand by this. You look fantastic. Is it correct that the proceeds from this celebration are going toward new uniforms, which would be your first since 1963?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we've had parts brought in, but we switched in '63 to the Kennedy tartan because we were honored to play for John F. Kennedy while he was here in town, and then to play at Arlington for his funeral. And after that, we switched to the plaid of the Kennedy family and the Kennedy tartan. You know, but you know, as you can tell, you know, it's like any organization. You go through ups and downs in those pieces, but we're really trying to keep it and help do for school people into it. Because, you know, no one's having 6 kids in a family anymore. It's you know, so for mine, there were 6 kids in the family. 3 of us ended up playing, etc. Right? So baseball, soccer, all those things are hard to compete against these days. So we're doing our best to present that image out to the world.
Well, you guys are doing a great job. If you know, if someone's maybe not able to make it out a little bit later on this afternoon, but they're loving what you guys are doing and they want to get keep the tradition going, and they want to help you guys get the uniforms to upgrade those instruments, to help with the youth music programs. Are there other ways that they can get in touch with you guys? Are there other places that they can find you around the city of Chicago?
Thank you. Appreciate that. Obviously, Facebook, social media, those pieces that we have out there, our website. If you go to the website at shannonrovers.com, you'll see those pieces. You'll also see those options. We're doing a live auction there, silent, right? But there'll be an auction of some items if people can go onto it live through the website that way as well. But we practice every Thursday night at the Irish Heritage American Center out on Knox. So we're out there Thursday night. So come out any evening. We'll see if we can't get you into the fold of the Chicago.
Listen, man, I don't want to show you up. You don't want me to be wearing one of that, man. I don't want to take the attention away from all of that. Listen, people
we'll
still.
Get an extra long kilt. It'll be fine.
Okay, fair enough. Listen, but you know what? We don't want to discourage people. Yes, there are a lot of opportunities where they can come find you guys, but first and foremost, we want to remind people that they can come out in just a couple of hours at Soldier Field. I can almost look down the road and see you guys right from here. One more time, let people know where they can come find you, because is this right that the celebration is happening from 5:30 to 11:30 p.m.?
We don't go small. We go big in this stuff as we go, right? So yeah, 5:30 to 11:30, cocktails, dinner on the field. There might be some surprise aerial works in the witch for you, video board presentations. We're trying to, as big as Soldier Field, we're going to try and cram it with as much as we can. So
I haven't partied since 11:30 p.m. in a very, very long time, Marty, but we might have to try it for you, my friend. Hey, man, congratulations on 100 years, man. Let's talk at 101. And listen, man, stop talking down on yourself, man, because you look fantastic in the outfit, my friend.
Truly appreciate it. Thanks to all.
Thanks, Marty. Appreciate you. All right, guys, Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back, 245 on Chicago Live. This is a real treat for me. I get to do a segment with JD, and this is sort of a fun little kind of behind the scenes, because I think people assume that if two people work at the same TV station, that they just naturally know each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always try to remind people, someone will, I say, hey, how's JD doing? How's Casey Cronus doing? How's this person doing? And I'll say, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. Or in some cases, never met him. Don't know. Because of our schedules, we tend to be like ships in the night.
Or worse.
Yeah, exactly right.
Dock here, you leave,
exactly
this guy
right.
comes, there's no crossing.
And there will be that weird moment where you'll cross paths in a hallway, and it's like, I know you've worked worked here for months, but hey, how you doing? I'm Jake. Good to see you. So I think you and I have met briefly once.
Yes.
I think we addressed that we hadn't really gotten to talk with each other.
And now here we are.
And now we're throwing us together, and I love it.
We're gonna make
First
it
of all,
happen.
you've been doing an amazing job.
Thank you. I appreciate
filling in
that.
for Emily, and I mean every day you tune in and you're batting 1,000. I always sort of joke that in baseball 300 gets you in the Hall of Fame, and you're a lifelong Hall of Famer, my friend.
A series of bunts.
You've been.
That's
Hey, you know
all
what?
that it is.
Hey,
Get the ball
bunts
in
get
play.
runs.
That's all in a small
That gets
ball.
runs, man.
Small ball.
All right, listen. I can tell you. It's so funny. I feel like one of the downsides of being a meteorologist is that friends of yours will immediately. Hey, I have personal friends.
Sure.
I got a flight. I got a game. So I'm going to take advantage of you being here.
Absolutely.
The girlfriend and I have tickets to Smokeout tonight.
Okay.
Obviously, it's an outdoor event over at United Center.
Sure.
We've packed an umbrella just in case, but what are we looking at? What are the chances that it's going to be something substantial?
You should be, I'm going to say, mainly okay.
Mainly okay.
And I say mainly okay because I have to cover my backside. That's a part of being a weather guy's job. I have to make sure that I have it out. I have to. And I said it because you look outside here, you see there are some cumulus clouds trying to build. Earlier today, we had a couple of showers right over downtown. There was a brief deluge across Lake County near the Gurnee area earlier this afternoon. That has moved out. Most of the area is rain-free. I believe I've got the satellite and radar picture called up, too. If we can take a sneak peek at that. Do I have that? Yeah, there it is. So there's one or two little thunder showers you see near Kankakee. Otherwise, everything right now is dry and quiet. My concern, Jake, is that later on this evening, see that clearing going on up there in the northern part of Illinois between Rockford and Waukegan? That's going to help to destabilize the atmosphere just enough. That's going to cause some rising air, and that may give us a pop-up shower or thunderstorm later on today. Now, this is where I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if it's going to roll right over downtown Chicago, if indeed it does develop, but there is a chance that it may. So, as I said this on the air last night, I'm calling this the weather lottery. Many will play, few will win.
Sure.
And the winner gets the rain.
Sure.
And you may not be a winner if you get the rain, but that's kind of the analogy I'm going with here. So there will be, I think, a pocket or two of rain and thunder later on this afternoon into this evening. Where does it go? Where does it end up? I don't know until it develops. And my worry is it develops right over Chicago.
So
why wouldn't it?
It could be a little wet for Hootie and the Blowfish.
It could be. I'm optimistic. I have been nightly crossing my fingers, toes, and eyes that this won't happen. So I'm optimistic that we'll be okay.
And is it? I mean, obviously, we're using the word mainly. We're hedging our bets a little. All the words, so that I can shake my fist at the sky and say he said mainly.
Yes.
But are you would probably say nothing in the vein of like we would be talking about evacuations out.
I don't think so. No. I mean, I think in a worst case scenario, there's going to be a brief 10-minute downpour.
Sure.
Maybe you get some wind gusts 30, 40 miles an hour. That would be what I see right now as the absolute worst case. We're not at any kind of level risk for today for severe weather. We're not looking at anything like last week when we had buckets upon buckets of rain coming down and 60, 70 mile per hour wind. That is not the setup for us today. So that's why I say whatever we do get, if indeed it comes to fruition, it's going to be some annoying rain. It's going to cheese you off a little bit. It passes, and you go, you know what? We're done here. Let's go grab some grub.
Fair enough. So my girlfriend tends to be right a lot more often than I do. So her assessment of let's get an umbrella and we're still going.
I think she is right where
tends to be the case. But looking ahead, obviously this is not the only day that people are going to be for someone that says, well, forget about Thursday. I got tickets Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What's the rest of the long weekend looking like?
Here's how I set this up. The weekend itself, Saturday, Sunday, pack your sunscreen, no need for an umbrella.
Love it.
It's going to be beautiful. Tomorrow, fog is a concern, especially up against the lakefront. So if it turns out to be kind of one of those misty type of days in some cases, don't be shocked by that. The trade-off, though, as you see in terms of temperature, it's the coolest day of at least the next 7. So if you're not a fan of the heat, not a fan of the humidity, tomorrow's your day. But if you're thinking it's July, let's go out and do this.
Fair enough.
The weekend's for you.
So in regards to the fog, because obviously we saw the fog have a pretty major impact on the 4th of July fireworks. I mean, obviously there are some factors where you can look at this and say, okay, fog's going to be a factor. But it sounds like it can kind of also just happen.
It can, and what happened last week might be similar to our setup tomorrow. The nuts and bolts is we're going to get a northeast wind, so we're going to pull the air off of Lake Michigan. While you already have warm and muggy air in place, that air on the lake is still relatively cool because lake water temperatures are in the lower 60s in some cases. So cooler air meets warmer, muggier air. That's where you get fog. The best way I can give that scenario is we take take a hot shower.
Sure.
And you get the steam, the mist that comes out of there when you open the shower door because it's meeting the relatively cooler and drier air on the outside of that shower. So it's the same kind of a deal here. When that wind direction changes, warm, muggy air in place, that fog just develops like that, and it's usually right up against the lakefront, which spoils 4th of July fun, unfortunately.
Let me ask you this. I mean, because you are so good at being able to look at these patterns, these long-term patterns. What has the summer been like? It's easy for us to say, well, it's rained the past 2 weeks, therefore it's been a sunny summer, or it's been a rainy summer. Whatever. Like, has it been a rainy summer, or is it just par for the course?
We're above average in terms of moisture, but we're also trying to make up for lost ground. We're always trying to balance things out in the atmosphere. And if you go back and look through things, we discussed this a couple of nights ago. February was a very dry month. April was a super soggy month. May was dry. June was wet. We've gone in this pattern where we go for a dry month, 2 wetter months.
Sure.
Dry month, 2 wetter months. I wouldn't be surprised if the back half of this month turns a bit soggy.
Sure.
And then maybe we go through most of August hot and dry.
See?
So don't be surprised by that.
That's fascinating. And, I've always wondered this because, a lot of times when, we experience a type of summer, and let's say it's a really hot summer.
Sure.
Then someone says, okay, well, you know what that means? It's going to be a really cold winter. Is there ever any is there any point where the temperature or the weather of a summer is at all ever indicative of what's to come in the months to come?
No.
No.
Sometimes it's by chance. We as humans have fickle brains and how we perceive things and remember things. To your point earlier, you can go through a couple of days of wet and go, oh my gosh,
it's been raining. Yeah, exactly right.
No, it was only for a couple of days. You go through like we did last week where it was hot. It was only hot for 4 days.
Sure.
It felt like an eternity. When you're sweating it out every single day, you're like, oh my gosh, but it's all relative in terms of things.
Well, and one of the things, I gotta be honest, we're in the middle of summer, right?
Yeah.
My girlfriend and I, we want it to be hot.
Yes.
Like just because you survived the Chicago winters, and your reward is shorts. And listen, no one wants to see the bottom half of my legs, but I still put them out there. But we want to be able to wear shorts out and about. But I gotta be honest, there have been multiple days when we walked outside and went, This is our reward. This is July.
I feel this has been a trend the past, I'd say, half dozen or so years. It takes forever for it to warm up around here. It's mid-June.
Yeah.
You're still walking around in a sweatshirt and shorts because you're confused on what the weather's going to do. The atmosphere is confused. Then we go bam right into hot and humid. And you're like, well, okay, forget all this stuff.
Yeah.
Then you get 1 or 2 days where it's cold, and you're like, okay, dig that sweatshirt back out again. We can't ever just seem to get a season and enjoy it, but that's how we do things.
That is, I know we often talk about, well, it's time to put up your coat. No,
it's never.
It's not because there was a random day. I think it was last month in June where we walked outside and went, I think I should have brought a coat.
It was 66 degrees toward I think it's 26th of June,
and there will be random 80 degrees in October.
Bingo.
And then it'll
even
snow.
December you can get days where it's super hot. And you're like, well, what is this? I mean, I think there was a Christmas day a few years ago where it was in the 70s or something like that. And it was super warm.
Yeah.
And it was like, what is going on? It's all over the place all the time.
You could be doing weather in LA where it's just
That's
70,
boring.
71, 71, 70, 71. But you're here.
Hi, folks. Sunshine at 75. Back to you.
No, this is the reps and the workout. And like yesterday, Jake, we had a flippin' earthquake in the middle of Lake Michigan. It's
you send out. It was the funniest thing. So we all of our amazing meteorologists here at Fox Chicago, they send out sort of these emails throughout the day, kind of keeping us updated. Yes. And you had the opening line of yours. I actually do read them. Honestly, I read it. They're always very helpful. Sometimes I'll even take screenshots and send them to Iris. I'm like, hey, this is what's coming up. But what was the opening line of yours yesterday? It was just about how unexpected the weather was.
2026 is just wilding out on us.
That was it. I think it was wild. Yeah, it was wilding out.
I did not have this on a bingo card that Lake Michigan was going to have a 2.9 magnitude earthquake.
Well, we really wanted to make sure that if we're throwing you into the deep end, that you're going to have we don't want you to get bored. We wanted you to enjoy your initial few months here.
Nothing boring whatsoever. It has been very active, and that's the way I'll take it.
And obviously, like you said, there's a good chance that as we get into August, it's going to be that heat that we're wanting is likely coming. What's about as far out as you can predict the weather with confidence?
Oh, I can confidently predict almost anything. I doesn't mean I'm right, but I can predict it. I can promise you in about...
Based on the tools provided.
At night, 100% chance of dark, scattered light by morning.
Mainly. Mainly. Because you know the day you say 100% will be the day that there's a solar flare and it lights up the sky and...
You said.
Yeah, you said. Is that the voice of the people that send in emails on a daily basis?
No, they have other voices.
Oh, they have other voices and other words.
Other words.
And I've read those words.
You get those emails too, huh?
It must be from the same person.
Yeah, it might be. Same guy.
All right, my friend. I appreciate it. It was great being able to do this.
Likewise,
all right, my man. All right, guys. We're wrapping things up, at least for my portion of Chicago Live. Things are about to get bigger. Things are about to get better because the 3 o'clock hour is about to start, and someone far more talented than I am about to take over. So for now, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for being here with us in our 3 o'clock hour of Chicago Live. Listen, I want Jake Hamilton to do an intro every day. I was saying to him as he was leaving out, he is just the best. He is the absolute best. And so I hope that you all have had some wonderful conversations in the last couple of hours when Jake was here. And we still have a few more that are lined up for this final hour of Chicago Live for the day before we turn things over to the 4 o'clock news. So let's talk a little bit about where we're going in this hour here that we have together. We have lined up for you Color Me Coffee. Of course, we're covering many different facets of our new presidential center here in the city of Chicago, the Obama Presidential Center. You were lucky if you got tickets for the fall into the winter. They went on sale yesterday around 10 a.m. and I think they were gone by maybe 11 o'clock. I would probably be pretty generous if I said 11:30. Anyhow, if you did get tickets or if you're planning on getting in on maybe the next batch that rolls out whenever that is, Color Me Coffee is one of the places that you're going to want to visit when you go over there. And we love all of the different stories that are coming out of the Obama Center in terms of folks in our area that are getting chances to enhance their businesses, reach new people, reach people from all over the world that are coming in to experience the Obama Presidential Center. And so Color Me Coffee has been around 40 years, but now they have just been named the sole coffee supplier for the newly opened Obama Presidential Center. What a wonderful honor. And we're going to be able to speak with the founder of Color Me Coffee coming up around 3:45. Looking forward to that conversation. There's also a new campaign that we're going to tell you about and maybe get some more information on around 3:30. This is the Cook County Department of Public Health now launching this Ditch the Cloud campaign. It's to help youth learn the truth about vaping. If you really think about the evolution of smoking, there was so much emphasis for a long time on people not smoking cigarettes, and then the vaping came along, and initially it seemed like this would be a healthier option until we started to find out that it had its risks as well. And so the more we learn, the better we can be, and they're wanting to put out more information, especially for youth. You know, there are a lot of conversations surrounding even the packaging, right, for a lot of things that they're available to youth, but at the same time, they're kind of, you know, the company might not say it's marketed to youth, but if you look at it, it kind of looks like it is one of those things. So they want to put out more information. I mean, we have super smart young people everywhere, and sometimes they just don't have all of the facts in front of them. And so we'll learn more about this information. The national data showing that 95% of smokers start before the age of 21. So it's super important that we get to our youth and give them this information so they can make smart choices before they, increase in their risk over time and do more damage to their bodies. So that's coming up around 3:30. 3:15. Absolutely love this. We have two folks who are founders of the Special Needs Respite Connection of Southwest Cook and Will counties who are going to be joining us to talk about Disability Pride Month. I love this, and I'm looking forward to that conversation because for many families, raising a child with disabilities, finding people who are qualified and trustworthy to both speak on your behalf and to work with can be difficult. And so they are great representatives, and they're going to be here to tell us more about the importance of Disability Pride Month. And again, one of these conversations where we all learn a little bit more about what we can do better and differently in the future. We're starting off, though, with what is quite a shocking situation that's happening in Bolingbrook. I saw my power bill today. If you think about the high temperatures that we have had over the last week, but especially, a couple weeks ago, man, I mean, we were hitting incredible temperatures outside. Extreme heat, quite honestly. Extreme heat that we were talking about. The storms that going into July 4th really broke it up, but we were experiencing extreme heat before then. And so I looked at my power bill today, and I'm like, whoo, man. But of course, you know exactly why it's that high, because we just came through extreme heat. Now imagine your water bill being like that month after month after month. And we're not saying there was some event to cause it to spike, but that is the average of it being here instead of here. We want to go ahead and bring in the mayor of Bolingbrook, Mary Alexander Basta. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having us.
So I see that you are urging regulators to reject this Illinois American Water's proposed $142 million rate increase. Explain to us the situation that you all are dealing with.
Absolutely. Water is a necessity, and Illinois American Water does have a monopoly here in Bolingbrook. We have no options other than to go with Illinois American Water. What we're seeing is that every other year they are going to the ICC and asking for yet another rate increase. 2024, they requested and they were granted, which took in effect January of 2025. Now here we are in 2026. They're going at it again, requesting another rate increase that would have take effect in January of 27. And our question is, when is enough enough? This is a company that is requesting, again, like you stated, $142 million. Over the past decade, they've gotten a $319 million increase. And it's too much. It's not a luxury, like I said. It's not a shopping trip that you could postpone or a vacation that you could put out. It's water.
Mm-hmm. It would be one thing if the residents, if I was speaking with a resident right now, but what made you say, I've got to take this up on behalf of my residents?
You know, we've made multiple attempts, and when you always know when those water bills hit, because that's when you start getting calls from seniors, calls from young families or people on set income, fixed income, and they're saying, what is going on? Why is my water bill so high? Some of them are astronomical. You know, we try to do the back work and say, have you checked for leaks? Have you had someone come out? But at the end of the day, it's clearly Illinois American Water and their charges that are astronomical.
So I see that you've reached out to the Illinois Commerce Commission. What has that communication been like? And has there been anything that has made you think progress could be positive for your residents?
Well, we had to go through hoop. We had a resident that reached out and asked for another public meeting, which the staff approved, but we had to get the actual commission to approve. So we went through those hurdles. We got it approved. You know, last time we held this same meeting, none of the 5 ICC commissioners showed up. They sent an administrative law judge who took the notes. The Illinois American Water president did show up to that meeting, but again, listening directly from residents, hearing their stories, hearing their struggles goes a very long way, much more so than reading it on paper. So my reach out to the ICC has been, please show up to this meeting, please listen to the residents and hear their stories for yourself. It's not just a local mayor asking, it is an entire community, and actually it goes beyond our community. It is the entire partial of Illinois that uses Illinois American Water.
So what is the average bill right now, would you say, for your residents, and how much of a difference would a rate hike that's proposed mean?
Average rate bill right now is probably $220. Obviously, it's based on usage. You know, what they're using right now is if you use 3,500 gallons of water a month, which is very minimal, actually. Maybe a one-person household would use that. You would probably see something like a $50 increase per month between the water and the collection fees, which is an additional $500 a year. Again, that's on the very, very low end. And while $500 a year might not sound like much to some, it's detrimental to others.
Mm-hmm. I see you're not alone. Who are you sitting with? I don't want to leave.
This is Lucas Rickelman, one of our administrators, and he's been fighting this alongside me, and actually even before I became mayor, in terms of the transitions, the cost. So he has the historical engineering perspective.
And Lucas, has this been surprising to you along the way?
The rate they're asking for now is kind of surprising. It's a pickup from what they've done from the past. And, you know, over my time here at the village, you know, I've probably been taking utility calls for over 20 years now. And the calls I get about the cost of water are nothing like any of the other utilities. I don't talk to people about the cost of their electric bill. I don't talk to people about the cost of their gas bill. But it seems almost monthly, if not weekly basis, I talk to somebody about the cost of their water bill.
Mm-hmm. And so if you all have been seeing steady increases, what makes you feel like this effort will result in possibly some relief for people living there?
Actually, it's media like yourself joining us and sharing our message and allowing us the opportunity to be heard. Again, this is 5 ICC commissioners, 2 of which have previously served as mayors. So if anything, they should understand the need to listen to constituents and actually be there to not just listen to them, but empathize with them, hear their stories. And our ask, to be very honest, is that these commissioners show up. They're close to making $200,000 a year, which is not a little bit of a salary. And so we don't think that asking them to show up to this meeting is a large ask, but we think it will make a very, very big difference.
So we did reach out to Illinois American Water, and I'm going to take some time because I'm having a lengthy conversation with you to read their lengthy response. And then I want you all to stay online so that you can respond to what we have here, okay? So give me just a moment to read through this for everyone who's watching right now. It says, Illinois American Water's rate request request submitted to the Illinois Commerce Commission is the first step in a comprehensive data-driven review process that includes multiple opportunities for public comment and stakeholder participation before a decision is made. No changes to customer rates occur unless and until approved by the ICC. Illinois American Water's proposal reflects the prudent, long-term investments needed to maintain safe, reliable water and wastewater service to customers. The rate request reinforces the company's commitment to implementing critical system upgrades and continuing to improve water quality and reliability for its more than 1.3 million people served statewide. The proposed rate adjustment supports the company's plans to invest approximately $577 million through 2027 to modernize and strengthen its water and wastewater systems in communities across Illinois. Investments include replacing aging pipes, upgrading treatment facilities, improving storage and pumping systems, and meeting evolving regulatory requirements. Examples of investments in the Chicagoland area include $3.5 million in a booster tank installment in Woodridge, $2.5 million in lift station improvements in Homer Glen, and $1 million in water storage tank renovations in Bolingbrook this year. These investments directly benefit the customers and communities we serve, providing our customers with reliable service and improved water quality from treatment to the tap. At the same time, Illinois American Water remains committed to affordability and offers programs to assist income-eligible customers, including its income-based discount program, H2O Help to Others Assistance Program, budget billing options, and flexible payment plans. Illinois American Water's proposal additionally includes provisions to help manage cost for lower usage customers. By making prudent, ongoing investments, Illinois American Water is committed to protecting public health and safety in the communities we serve. Mayor, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is that that's all well and fine, but over the past decade, Illinois American Water alone has netted a $200 million, again, net. After all expenses, after everything has been paid, they netted $200 million. And their parent company, American Water Works, netted, are you ready? $2.3 billion in profits. Again, that's net. So my rebuttal to that is absolutely, we want safe water. We want our systems to be clean. We want everything to work properly. However, we think that that's something that could be done through their, take it out of your income, take it out of your profits. Don't continue to burden the users that have no choice but to be your customers. When we have things here that we need infrastructure repair, we don't raise taxes. We budget accordingly, we work within our means, and we make things happen. And that's what we're asking Illinois American Water to do, is work within your means. You know what needs to be done. You've known what needs to be done, but continuing to ask for these excessive increases is just no longer going to be acceptable. And yes, that is correct. They would only get this if the ICC approves it. The ICC has done nothing but approve it the last every other year that they have asked for it. So why not continue to ask for it if you know it's going to get improved? So we are asking the ICC to say no to any additional rate hikes, not just for Illinois American Water, but any utilities. Work within your means and continue to provide the product that you should be providing to all residents that utilize Illinois American Water in the state of Illinois.
Okay, and right now we don't have a set date for the ICC to come back to the table, correct?
We do. It is well, we don't know when they're coming to the table, but our open meeting will be on July 14th, again, where we're inviting the ICC and love to even have the governor come out and listen straight from the residents, their feelings about this. It'll be from 7 to 9:30 at 201 Canterbury Lane right here in our community center.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us today on Chicago Live, and make sure you continue to keep us updated along the way. We are invested in hearing how this goes from here.
Definitely. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for taking the time. It's 3:15, everyone. Give us 2 minutes, and then we're going to get into our conversation about Disability Pride Month. All right, 3:17 right now, everyone. Thanks for staying with us here on Chicago Live, and really looking forward to this next conversation because, there are statistics, and this is actually coming from the Illinois Department of Public Health. This statistic, about 1 in 6 Illinois adults serves as a caregiver for a family or friend with a health problem or disability. 1 in 6. That's a lot of people. I always say, caregivers are angels here on earth, and it takes a lot. And finding the right caregivers is a super tough job. And so we have Tessa Quinlan from Mokina and Jen Ivey from Lockport, who are the founders of Special Needs Respite Connection of Southwest Cook and Will counties here to tell us more about what they have created, this beautiful community that they have grown over time online and then in person, and how it's really coming to fruition, especially in Disability Pride Month. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for having us.
Love having you both here. Let's see, raise your hand. Tessa. Okay, and so Jen, you're on my right-hand side. I just want to make sure I have my geography right here as I'm speaking to you all. Maybe let's start with Jen. Tell me how you and Tessa connected.
So Tessa and I run in similar circles out in the area we live in. We met each other first at church, and then we kept running into each other at special needs events with our sons, who are just a couple years apart. We'd run into each other at carnivals and other special needs meetups, and then just decided that we had a lot in common and we had a similar focus on what we wanted for our boys.
Mm-hmm. And Tessa, tell me how that connection just between you and Jen made a difference in your life.
Well, it certainly makes a difference in my life just because it's a boat that many of us fall into, and that we connect on that level where you can relate to somebody and they understand without explaining and without judgment. So it's just a connection that you have, an unspoken connection, mm-hmm. I should say.
Mm-hmm. And so, Tessa, you all created this Special Needs Respite Connection. What was the purpose of that, given the special connection the two of you all created?
Well, from, like Jen said, just running in the same circles, we developed the friendship, and it really was just an organic conversation that her and I were having one day about the trials and tribulations that we have with our own aging children, our sons, as they got older. So it just became more and more difficult to find mature caregivers for our sons who were getting older. So it was just a conversation that her and I were speaking of, and we were talking about, wouldn't it be nice? And we talked about what we would want, and we kind of threw it out in the air. And then the next day, Jen messaged me and said, look what I did. So, and we rolled with it, and we just let it happen, and it has rolled into what it is today, and we're approaching 3,000 members, and we receive testimonials, often where we are given the thanks for allowing to have this type of platform to connect with caregivers for families, and then families connect with caregivers, and then the caregivers connect with families, and everyone who signs up knows what they're getting themselves into. For those that are caregivers searching for families to connect with and help and assist and provide that respite need that us families do require, so that we ourselves can live a happy and healthy life. It's definitely made a difference in many families today.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned so that you yourselves as a family can live a healthy, happy life. I've always heard that term, you can't pour from an empty cup. Like, people have to have the ability to have some respite from time to time from the caregiving duties that are pretty much 24/7, right? And so, Jen, as the group has grown, tell me about some of those testimonials that Tessa mentioned. Tell me about what you have seen over this time.
Yeah, so in our group, if people are looking for a specific caregiver in an area, or they might have an expertise, they might ask for recommendation, or they'll post in our group and say what they're looking for, and caregivers will then comment on the post. And many times, families who have already employed those caregivers or already had services from those caregivers will comment and express how life-saving it was to have them in their home, and how good they were at their job, and they were punctual. We get a lot of people who come on and just give praise for certain caregivers that they've had. And we've even had caregivers come on and give praise for families that they've worked with, that they were happy to have found a family to work with and offer their skill set, and they were happy for the employment. So we do have a lot of repeat posters who maybe had a caregiver for a while, and that caregiver possibly moved on, or even a family that had moved on and caregiver was looking for someone. And everyone in the group pretty much can probably give a testimony for either a family or a caregiver in the group that they've already worked for. So it creates that personal connection within the group.
And finding the right caregiver is just, it is such a Herculean task. I think of the people in my family who have, struggled to find the right person to care for someone in my family or in their extended family. It's so tough. What are some of the things, if you are vetting a caregiver, what are some of the things that you're looking for or asking?
I don't know what happened to Tessa. We have our caregivers and families do their own vetting. They can make the connection on our page. We can give them suggestions on what to look for. They need to ask for references. You really want an individual who has a background in whatever skill set you're looking for. So if it's an individual, if you have a child with autism, you might want someone who has previously worked with someone with autism. If you have a child who's in a wheelchair or someone who uses a G-tube, you're going to want to find someone who has experience, who can give you the references that you need. Ultimately, you're looking for someone who is patient and kind, and someone who can adapt quickly in any situation, because when it comes to individuals with special needs, anything can happen at any time. And it just takes a different individual than just your regular babysitter or your regular teenager down the street to step up and actually offer that care for your loved one.
And so I see that there are similar groups to you all that are now popping up. They say that imitation is a form of flattery. So what does it mean to you to see these other groups pop up to help people maybe in other parts of the Cook County or the state or the country?
Honestly, Tessa and I were pretty amazed that there wasn't a group for this type of need when we were looking to create one. We had caregivers that we had found on either caregiving websites or through word of mouth in our community and recreation activities that we were involved in. And we were really surprised that one hadn't existed, which is why we created it, and we were able to bring the individuals together. It is an honor to have people actually replicate what we're doing. Many people will hop on our group just looking for the similar group in their area. And we do let them post in search of caregivers or employment in our group if there isn't a similar group in their area. And then we kind of lead them on how to form it in their group, because everyone wants to stay pretty local. You want to make those connections locally, and everyone doesn't want to have to drive really far for that type of position. So we encourage people to ask us questions, to reach out to us, and to really form their own groups. And it's not that difficult. It's just, you've just got to have faith in the system, and you need to find the right group to target it to, and then you can make it happen.
I think it's fantastic on so many levels. And so here we are in Disability Pride Month. What does that mean to you? And, in 2026, what is the lens that you see this month through? I see Tessa's back with us. Tessa, could you hear my question?
I did. I just didn't know if you could hear me.
I can hear you.
apologize.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Okay.
I was going to say at the end of the interview, if you didn't come back, like, just check on her, make sure, make sure she's good.
In my car.
It's all right.
You know what? It's a proud moment. I know I'll speak for myself. You know, it's our son was given to us, and we are proud that he is our son, and it's a honor to be his mom. And it's not anything that we dreamt of. However, we understand that this is our role, this is our job as parents, and we are very proud of him. He works very hard for what he is and who he is today. And I think most parents should be very proud of their children, because they work really hard daily on trying to incorporate themselves in a society that may not be so welcoming. So it's something that we should be proud of. We're raising awareness. I look at this Facebook group as a way to raise awareness, and opportunities like this and speaking with you is ways that we can continue to do that and raise awareness. Because as our children, I don't know if Jen mentioned it, and I apologize for missing for a few, but as our children get older, as our sons get older, the caregiving just gets tougher. So it's something that we continue to strive and advocate for. And Jen does a much better job in that, with, you know, going to the higher levels, to the, state capitol, and really advocating on that level. And these caregivers work really hard. So I'm very proud to be a special needs parent. It's hard work. It does require a village. But we are there to support all of our families, no matter what area they're from. And we hope to spread the word and create other groups just like this in other areas.
Yeah, and Jen, what are some things that you all are still advocating for in 2026?
So Tessa and I do local advocating within our schools. We're both heavily involved in advocating in our schools and working in our schools, trying to create opportunities for individuals with special needs in our communities. Spoken to our state legislators. My husband and I have gone to the Capitol to fight for direct support professional hours so that they don't decrease their wages. We're always just looking forward. Tessa and I are always trying to figure out what the next step is, because at any time things can change, and we both are just actively moving in the next direction. While we are trying to provide a better future for our sons, we're also taking into account everyone else needs this too. Everyone else needs change. And if we have the opportunity to help with that, then we're going to do it. We're not just going to sit around and wait for someone else to do it.
Ladies, you are so beautiful, and we just thank you so much for joining us here on the show today. Whether it was Disability Pride Month or any other month on the calendar, you are always welcome here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having us.
Everyone, is 3:31. Just awesome, ladies. And again, that is the Special Needs Respite Connection of Southwest, Cook, and Will counties. You can find them on Facebook or on other social media. And it's just a wonderful thing that these two moms got together, formed their own connection, and said what it had done for them. They knew that it could, creating an even larger community, that love there, that support could do for other people. And so just about 3,000 people now have joined them. And again, going back into that 1 in 6 Illinois adults serving as a caregiver, there are so many more, I'm sure, that could use the same. So again, that's the Special Needs Respite Connection of Southwest, Cook, and Will counties. If you need them, reach out. Let's take a quick break, 2 minutes, and we're back.
Hi, doctor. Would you be able to pronounce your last name, please?
All right, we're back at 3:34 right now, and we're going to find out more about this youth-informed awareness campaign bringing vaping education to schools, digital platforms, and communities across suburban Cook counties. It's called Ditch the Cloud, and we have Dr. Kiran Joshi, the Chief Operating Officer of Cook County Department of Public Health, who is joining us right now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. We're very excited about this campaign. We know from our local data, from local surveys that we conduct in 2024, that vaping in suburban Cook County has been decreasing. So that's really good news. A lot of the good public health messaging we've been putting out has been gaining traction, but still, we've got nearly 1 in 12 high school students that continue to report vaping. And nationally, that's about 1.63 million, 6% of middle and high school students who report current e-cigarette use. So among those who vape, nearly 90% using flavored e-cigarettes. So things like fruit, candy, and mint are the most popular flavors. And there's a reason that the vaping companies are using those flavors, because the bottom line is that flavored vape products play a crucial role in attracting youth to vaping and only increase the likelihood of continued nicotine use. And so that's why we're focusing on vaping specifically.
Mm-hmm. And I mentioned at the top of this hour how we had this evolution with smoking where it came to a point where it's like, okay, smoking is bad for you. And it seemed like right around that time that people got that realization, and it really stuck with people, is when vaping started to tick up. And people really thought that that was a healthier, option. So talk about the actual effects of vaping.
Sure. Let's not forget here that tobacco companies in particular have a long history of misrepresenting the facts, misrepresenting science, and doing targeted campaigns to recruit vulnerable communities of color, LGBTQIA plus youth specifically, to engage in smoking, and now we see an increase in vaping. So we're really concerned about that. And while I think there's a general sense of an understanding that vaping is probably bad for you in the long term, what we found in our conversations with youth, because this campaign is something that was really informed by youth, when we spoke to youth who were 12 to 24 to better understand why they start vaping and why they quit and what messages actually resonate with them, what we learned is that many of them didn't understand the short-term effects. And so our campaign really focuses on that. So to answer your question directly, we're really focused on health effects like brain fog, just like challenges thinking through your ordinary things that you want to do during the day, trouble concentrating, anxiety, mood changes, and ultimately nicotine addiction. Those things are the focus of our campaign, the immediate health effects of vaping, alongside, of course, the long-term risks.
Mm-hmm. And let's break that down. I mean, if you start vaping, how long is it before you start to see some of those things?
So some of them could be immediate. It may depend a little bit on how much you vape and your individual body. But you could expect things like difficulty concentrating and increased heart rate and anxiety almost immediately.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think in all this time that we even realized that. And then long-term effects, what are some of those?
Sure. So we're really concerned about vaping largely because it hasn't been studied for as long as combustible tobacco products like cigars and cigarettes have. But we do know that if, as a friend of mine who's a specialist in lungs has said, if you're inhaling something that isn't air, it's probably bad for you. There have been outbreaks of things like severe lung injury, in which case individuals were hospitalized and had permanent damage to their lungs because they inhaled vape products that were adulterated with different kinds of chemicals. And so these are just some examples of the consequences of vaping.
And where do things stand in terms of the well-documented fights about the packaging for some of these things? I mean, as you noted, we went through this with cigarettes. The packaging, what needs to be on it, the messaging that needs, that needs to, the warnings that need to go on it, so that yes, if people should choose, they're at least making an informed decision. Where do things stand in terms of the fight for, the not just the packaging, the marketing of vaping products?
This is certainly cause for concern because there are vaping products that have nicotine and certainly they're addictive. There are other products that don't have nicotine, but again, if you're inhaling something that isn't air, I want to double click on the fact that that is likely not good for you. In terms of sharing information and being very clear about the risks, we know that very clear labels on tobacco products help inform consumers and help them make decisions about whether to buy. And then, of course, as a public health doctor, we hope that folks increasingly choose not to buy those products. Very clear labels can really make a difference. And that's something, those sorts of regulatory activities are things that I think need to be instituted at the federal level.
Mm-hmm. And do you, at this point in time, what are some of the statistics for smoking? Because we have noted, that things really shifted, but I mean, what are some of the statistics where it comes to smoking cigarettes post all of the advocacy, the campaigns, the federal intervention that took place over the years? Where do we stand now with that?
Yeah, well, I'm pleased to say that smoking rates have really declined over the decades. And so this is an example of a public health success. Mm-hmm. Now, the problem is that there are differences in smoking rates between individuals and communities that live in poverty and those that do not. There are differences in the rates of smoking and smoking uptake between communities of color and their white counterparts. And that is something that I believe is a social injustice and needs to be remedied. So much of the work that we do keeps that kind of thing in mind. So again, just to reiterate, smoking rates have really declined over the past few decades. That's a public health success, but persistent disparities remain.
Yeah, so still a lot of work to do even there, but we're at an earlier stage of the work that will need to be done when it comes to vaping.
That's exactly right. I'd like to talk just a little bit about our campaign because, sometimes there's a sense that as public health, we engage in scaremongering. And I want to be clear that that is not the case here. It's not about scare tactics. It's about giving young people the information that they need based in science so that they can make informed decisions. We know that, again, misinformation is really common, and we want to replace those myths with facts. So in the coming month, folks in suburban Cook County are going to start seeing campaign materials displayed in suburban Cook County high schools. Again, helping us students see trusted information in places that they told us they wanted to see them. You'll be seeing them in Pace Bus shelters and, of course, digital marketing. So we're very excited about what's next, which is going to be a peer-to-peer video that features the voices and lifts up the voices of those suburban Cook County students filmed in a suburban Cook County high school, sharing their perspectives about vaping and nicotine addiction. So that's just another way that we're ensuring that youth hear these messages from people that they can relate to. If schools or organizations are interested, they can fill out a form online to request a presentation on vaping that features our Ditch the Cloud campaign. They can request printed posters and materials. All that and more at dish-vape.com. Again, that's dish-vape.com.
Dr. Joshi, wonderful speaking with you. Thank you so much for what you do, and I hope that this will be another successful campaign.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Take care. 3:45, everyone. Give us 2 minutes, and we're going to come back with our final conversation of the day here on Chicago Live with the founder of Color Me Coffee. right, everyone, 3:47 right now, and we've come to our final conversation of the day here on Chicago Live, and I've really been looking forward to speaking with Rhonda Stivers, the founder of Color Me Coffee, that's now the official sole coffee provider at the Obama Presidential Center. Rhonda, congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
I need you to just take a little time and tell us about what you're surrounded by.
Oh, sometimes we call it bedlam, but it all works. This is the heart of our business. This is our coffee roaster. The coffee roaster, we get our beans in green coffee beans, raw, and we get our beans, green beans is a commodity. And so we trade in commodities in 30 different coffee producing countries. We get the coffee in huge burlap bags. They weigh about 130 to 152 pounds. Once we get the coffee in, we cook it, as you would say, at home. And this is our roaster or cooker. This is a 25-pound roaster that this is our third roaster in 40 years. A roaster will last a lifetime. but we have decided to upgrade because of technology. This one, we can preset our profiles for the different coffees. If we have, some of our customers, even though we might have several that like a Kenyan coffee, some want it medium, some like it dark, and we could put preset their profile so that we know it's just the way they like it. We cook the coffee in here. It goes up to about 500 degrees. And this is where the artistry comes in. Not only, you can't just push a button, even with the technology. We have to look at it. We talk about it. We make sure that it's not overcooked. We look for the spots and lines in the coffee. And it truly is a craft, roasting coffee. And I've been doing it for 40 years.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations on all the success. And tell me, in those 40 years, when you met a young Barack Obama?
Well, I didn't meet a young Barack Obama. I just heard that he came to Chicago the same year that we opened our business.
Well, clearly he was impressed by what you all were offering there. And so all these years later, now you all have this great honor of being the sole provider of coffee there at the OPC. Tell me how that came about.
Well, one of our customers that we provided coffee at Peaches in Bronzeville, and all of the coffee there is ours. When you order peach coffee, it's done right here. We flavor coffees as well as roast them. And as you may know, Chef Rome is the master restaurateur at the Obama Presidential Center. So we knew we would have a presence there. We didn't know what. We just thought that it would be, our peach coffee, and that was it. Well, I think he must have told somebody, about us. And we were invited in for a blind taste test with 7 other roasters in the city of Chicago. Well, I would say in the region, because there was a roaster from Iowa that was part of it. We didn't even know when the blind taste was going to happen. When they came here and met with us, took samples, walked around, checked, made sure we knew all about coffee. They told us that we would be able to come in and offer our coffees. Well, 2 weeks after that, we got a message that said, congratulations, you have won all of the business at the Obama Presidential Center in a blind taste test.
Wow. I mean, that's like wow upon wow.
Yes.
And
Yes,
props
it
to
is.
Chef Rome. He is at it again. We spoke to him recently here on the show, right around this same time during the show. He's doing wonderful things. And of course, anyone who
He
goes
is.
over to the Obama Presidential
Yes, he
Center
is.
will be able to taste test all of the things that he is providing there at Tafari's Kitchen.
For sure.
But back to Color Me Coffee. I mean, what kind of difference does an opportunity like this make for your business?
Oh my goodness. Well, I wish that we could pan and you could see the opportunity. I mean, just in the last 24 hours, because we do a big mail order business all across the country. It is bigger. We're making a couple trips to UPS a day just for our mail order. And most people are buying our Pride and Joy, our 44 Reserve. This is the blend that we created just for the Obama Presidential Center. It wasn't part of the blind taste test because we, had not come up with this yet. And they actually selected another coffee from the Dominican Republic, which was the rarest coffee that we actually have. We talked to them about 44 Reserve. We actually sat here and came up with it. I came up with several names. I said, we need something different, something that really connects to the Presidential Center. And we played with a lot of names. We cupped, we sampled, and then we decided, let's put together the coffees that are part of President Obama's heritage. And they worked out to be a perfect blend. And we came up with 44 Reserve. It's ours alone. We trademarked it. It's a proprietary blend. And you can also get this in the retail shop at the cafe at the Obama Presidential Center, as well as going on our website. colormecoffee.net or stigerscoffee.com and ordering it directly from us. It's the same price.
Back to the artistry of it all. This really is an amazing story. I mean, when you got started with your business, and I see that you were an international flight attendant before this life.
Yes.
Could you ever envision this type of work that you're doing now?
I prayed for it. Yeah. Yes, I did envision it. Yeah, this is what I want, and this is a wonderful opportunity. But I have, other aspirations too to go with this coffee journey. I started in 1985, and again, from being an international flight attendant, I fell in love with coffee shops, all over the world, and typical. I had a mom and pop import business. I sold everything. My living room was like a flea market. Everybody came there to buy leather goods, perfume, champagne. And one of my customers asked me one day, why don't you think about coffee? Because I always served cappuccinos and espressos. No one was even drinking them. I bought my first espresso machine at Macy's basement in New York in 1976, bright red. I was with my mom, and when I saw it, I said, I have to have this. So I always served espressos and cappuccinos. And one of my customers said one day, why don't you think about coffee? And I said, coffee? And I love the whole atmosphere of cafes and everything. So in 1985, there was no internet. I literally went to the library to learn about coffees. I wrote down all of the coffee characteristics, their nuances on index cards. And I used to sit on in the jump seat on the plane, memorizing, all these coffees. And I found out about industry magazines, and I subscribed to those, and they became my Bibles. And that's how I learned, everything about coffee. And of course, traveling, going to other coffee shops. And then the idea of roasting came up. It was very rare to roast. And we were the first Black roasters in the United States of America.
Whoa.
Yeah, we were the first. And one of the, I think the second in Chicago. I was here, we opened up way before Big Green came, and all the other coffee shops that are around. And even though we were new, we decided, a leap of faith, to roast coffee, and we researched it, ended up with this company, Probat Werke, from Germany, and we actually traveled to Germany. We called them, because we couldn't email them then, didn't even know about emails. And we called them and said, hey, we'd like to come and visit you. We're thinking about a roaster. We visited them. Long story short, this is our third. We have 3 roasters, and I call them Granddad, Mommy, and this is the baby here. And the oldest one it's still operable, but we don't use it anymore. It's our relic, our vintage, antique roaster. But this is the heart of our business. And so we decided to roast because not only, could we, operate the cafe, but with the roaster, we can increase revenues by roasting coffee for other businesses. And we picked up business in our community. We were at Sheffield and Wellington. And our first wholesale customer was Pops for Champagne, because they were just a block south of us.
Yeah. Okay. And I only have a little bit of time left, but I see that you all have outgrown one location and you're on the move. So quickly, tell us where you're on the move to. I got about 30 seconds.
Sure. We've been here for 22 years. We just purchased a building in Grand Crossing at 75th and Woodlawn. And we are so excited. It will be the first roastery on the south side of Chicago, and it won't be just any old roastery. It will be high tech. We're going to have a tasting room. We'll have a separate area for fulfillment. It's really going to be, and people can come in. We're also offering a training program for baristas and for future roasters. I have to mention my staff. I have a beautiful team. My manager of everything, I call her, Kay, is not here right now, but they have helped me out so much. And then our master roaster, Donnie Hunt, has been with us since the day we opened 40 years ago.
Rhonda, amazing story. I love it all. And I can't wait to taste Color Me Coffee when I'm headed back over to the OPC. Congratulations on it all.
Thank you. And thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And everyone, we'll see you back here tomorrow.